Chapter 386. After Wang Haoran told Bien Suan what to do, he hung up the phone and walked out of the washroom. However, Feng Rao walked towards him as soon as he reached the corridor. "Come with me." She grabbed Wang Haoran's hand and walked towards the staircase a few steps away. Wang Haoran wanted to resist, but when he remembered that he was not as strong as her, he immediately gave up the idea. The stairs were not used as often as the elevator. They walked along the stairs, but they didn't see anyone. Not long after, Feng Rao brought Wang Haoran to the rooftop. Wang Haoran shook off her hand and said unhappily, "Why did you bring me here?" Of course, he knew Feng Rao's background, but he couldn't tell her because he wanted to be reasonable. "I didn't mean to lie to you. I'm sorry." Feng Rao didn't have the demeanor of a hidden sect at all. She was like a woman who had made a mistake and was trying to get back the man she loved. "Is it useful to say sorry? I'm just a young man who hasn't even been in a relationship. My feelings were deceived by you. Is it useful to say sorry?" Wang Haoran didn't even blush or pant when he was talking nonsense. Instead, he looked as if he was in the right. Feng Rao felt ashamed and quickly said, "Although I lied to you, my feelings for you are real. Don't talk about it anymore. Let's pretend it never happened. We have nothing to do with each other in the future." Then, Wang Haoran was ready to leave. Feng Rao was anxious and immediately stopped him. "I know you don't like me, but I really can't live without you. It's just a fact. I can't change it." Her face gradually became sad. "My tears still fall. I regret not meeting you before we got married. We are not fated in this life. Let's meet again in the next life." While talking, she had already grabbed Wang Haoran's hand and walked to the edge of the rooftop. Wang Haoran was shocked. He somewhat understood why she chose to bring him to the rooftop. This crazy woman wanted to drag him to die with her and then reincarnate to meet again in the next life. This building had more than 30 floors. Even if he used 100-year true chi to protect himself, there was still a chance that he would die. If he didn't use his true chi to protect his body, he would definitely die. Wait. It's not that I dislike you, but it's too sudden. I can't accept it," Wang Haoran said hurriedly. "Really?" Feng Rao's eyes sparkled with hope. "Of course, after all, you're the first woman I've ever loved." In order not to be dragged off the building by Feng Rao, Wang Haoran was completely shameless. "You said that I'm the first woman you've ever loved?" Feng Rao was so happy that she didn't want to die anymore. Half of her desire to die disappeared. "Of course." Wang Haoran nodded seriously and explained, "What this life and the next life? It's just an illusory legend. It's better to cherish this life." Feng Rao's thoughts of dying disappeared when she heard that. She pulled Wang Haoran's hand and left the edge of the rooftop. "Yin Feiping and I are in a marriage of interests. There are no feelings at all." Feng Rao calmed down and couldn't help but reveal her heart. "Since it's a marriage of interests, why didn't you object?" Wang Haoran asked curiously. "Before I met you, I never thought that there would be any love in this world, and I never thought that I would fall in love with anyone. Marriage is just a formality. I married Yin Feiping according to my parents' arrangement," Feng Rao said slowly. Wang Haoran's heart skipped a beat. "Yun Churan and Yin Tian are also in a marriage of interests?" "Yes." Feng Rao nodded. "Speaking of which, Yin Churan actually has some of my shadow. I think Yin Churan is quite nice to Yin Tian. She seems to be quite willing to marry him." From Feng Rao's words, Wang Haoran could tell that she seemed to know something, so he couldn't help but try to fish for more information. "Why do you seem to care about Yin Churan?" Feng Rao was puzzled. "You should also know that Yin Tian and I don't get along well. I don't like to see him get along, so I want to destroy their relationship. Tell me everything you know about Yin Churan." Wang Haoran was not afraid of angering Feng Rao, so he spoke without any scruples. Hearing this, Feng Rao felt quite helpless. "The reason why I said that Yin Churan has some of my shadow is because I have talked to her in private," Feng Rao said. "Yin Churan's attitude toward this marriage is actually similar to mine. They both want to fight for enough benefits. As for the marriage itself, it's actually not important." Hearing this, Wang Haoran completely confirmed his previous judgment of Yin Churan. Now that he understood Yin Churan's thoughts, Could he start to mess up the marriage between Yun Churin and Yin Yuntian again? Is there no possibility of reconciliation between you and Yuntian? Feng Rao frowned. No. Wang Haoran responded without hesitation. Then he raised his eyebrows. So, are you helping me or him? Don't force me to make this choice, okay? Feng Rao pleaded. Okay. Wang Haoran smiled, and his face gradually turned cold. Then, I can understand that you are on Yin Yuntian's side. And from now on, we are enemies. Hearing Wang Haoran's words, Feng Rao only felt a pang of heartache. She persuaded him. You are just a rich man in the secular world. You can't fight against people who live in seclusion. Even if Xuansu helps you, you may be the one who will suffer in the end. You have 3 seconds to make a choice again. Wang Haoran did not answer Feng Rao's question. Instead, he threw out the multiple-choice question again. Please no. 3. Wang Haoran began to count. 2. 1. I will stand aside and not help anyone. Is that okay? Feng Rao had no choice but to say it. Hearing this answer, Wang Haoran was quite satisfied. It was not realistic to ask Feng Rao to help kill Yin Yuntian. Wang Haoran only wanted Feng Rao to not interfere. Let's go back. After talking, Wang Haoran did not want to stay on the rooftop. Can I stay a little longer? Feng Rao seemed to be unwilling to leave. Aren't you afraid that Yin Feiping will suspect you if you stay for too long? Wang Haoran joked. I don't need to be afraid of him. If I keep a straight face, he will be frightened. Feng Rao snorted. Okay, let's stay a little longer. What do you want to talk about? Wang Haoran asked. Who said we must talk about anything? Feng Rao gave him a seductive look. Wang Haoran's heart skipped a beat. He subconsciously took a step back. Am I that scary? Feng Rao took a step forward and leaned forward slightly. You said I was very... Don't you want to experience it again? Wang Haoran suddenly felt his scalp go numb. Sure enough, old women were much braver than little girls. Chapter 387. Wang Haoran was enjoying the breeze on the rooftop as he looked down at the surrounding night scenery. Feng Rao had already left for a few minutes. Wang Haoran looked at his tired hands and couldn't help but sigh. He thought to himself that he should try not to be alone with Feng Rao in the future. This time, it was his hands that were tired, but it might not be the same next time. Wang Haoran continued to enjoy the breeze for a while, then left the rooftop and walked down the corridor. Soon, he arrived at the floor where Yin Yuntian's ward was located. As soon as his feet landed on the corridor floor of this floor, a figure walked out from behind the bathroom door not far away. It was Yun Churin. However, Yun Churin just glanced at Wang Haoran indifferently and then prepared to return to Yin Yuntian's ward. Wang Haoran quickened his pace and caught up with her, walking side by side. Don't you think it's sad that you have to be controlled by others even when it comes to marriage? Wang Haoran's words were obviously implying something. After Yun Churin heard it, her footsteps paused for a moment, and then she continued to walk forward. At the same time, she said, Yin Yuntian is the young master of Fengxi Mountain. He is also very outstanding and is a good match. Why would I feel sad? Just now in the ward, she had already seen that Wang Haoran and Yin Yuntian were not on good terms. She could completely guess that Wang Haoran was trying to destroy her relationship with Yin Yuntian. As Yin Yuntian's fiancée, she naturally stood on Yin Yuntian's side. It's true that Yin Yuntian is outstanding, but he can't give you happiness, Wang Haoran said meaningfully. Yin Churin didn't care about the so-called happiness at all because she didn't like Yin Yuntian at all. However, she couldn't say that from her standpoint, so she said, You don't have to worry about it. I will be very happy. It seems that you have misunderstood my words. I was talking about character. Wang Haoran tilted his head and smiled at her. Yin Churin was stunned. Then, she became angry and embarrassed. You lecher. If you continue to talk nonsense, I won't be polite to you. I'm just reminding you out of kindness. You better believe me. Otherwise, when you really get married, it'll be too late for regrets. Wang Haoran acted like a good old man. Nonsense. Yin Churin thought that he was talking nonsense. After saying that, he lost interest in talking to Wang Haoran. He quickened his pace and soon walked into Yin Yuntian's ward. Wang Haoran gave a strange smile and slowly followed him. It's getting late. Do you want to go back and rest? Feng Xuanzu saw that Wang Haoren had returned, so she walked up and asked in a low voice, "There's no rush. Let's wait a little longer." Wang Haoren smiled. A good show was about to begin. If he left now, wouldn't it be a pity? After waiting for about 10 minutes, Yu Ning invited Bian Suen to come here. Yin Feipeng and Feng Rao walked up and greeted her kindly. Bian Suen replied politely. Then, she turned her gaze and looked at Wang Haoren in the ward. However, she did not go over to greet him. This was because both of them had agreed to pretend that they were not familiar with each other. "Miracle Doctor, this is my son's examination report and the diagnosis of his injuries. Do you want to take a look?" Yin Feipeng passed a stack of papers and films to Bian Suen. After Bian Suen took a look, she frowned and her face darkened. When Yin Feipeng saw it, he became nervous and quickly asked, "Is there any problem? Your son's injuries are very serious." Bian Suen said solemnly, "I heard from the doctor that he can move freely after a few months of rest. How can it be serious?" Yin Feipeng was puzzled. If you just want to move freely, then it's not serious. However, if you recover your martial arts and cultivation, then... Bian Suen wanted to say something, but stopped. Yin Yuntian panicked when he heard it. "Miracle Doctor, do you mean that these injuries will affect my martial arts and cultivation?" "Yes. After you recover, I estimate that you will only have 30% of your cultivation left." Bian Suen said seriously. When Yin Yuntian heard it, his pale face became even paler. Because of his hidden illness, his cultivation had been stagnant. Last time, Ning Aoshue even came to humiliate him. Even so, with Yin Yuntian's cultivation, he could still be considered as one of the rare martial arts geniuses in the hidden Jianghu. However, if his cultivation was reduced by 70%, he would become a mediocre person. This was something that Yin Yuntian could not accept no matter what. "Can it be treated?" Yin Yuntian asked anxiously. "But it's possible, but..." Bian Suen stopped halfway through her sentence. Yin Yuntian was extremely anxious. "Miracle Doctor, if you have something to say, just say it." Yin Feipeng said, "It's like this. If you want to treat your son's injuries, you'll need a few rare herbs. These herbs are the treasures of the immortal Medicine Valley." Bian Suen hinted. Yin Feipeng understood and said generously, "Just name the price." Hearing this, Bian Suen extended a finger. 100 million? Okay, no problem. Yin Feipeng agreed readily. Although 100 million yuan was a hefty sum, it was nothing to him. However, Bian Suen shook her head at him. 1 billion. Yin Feipeng frowned. Bian Suen shook her head again. 10 billion is too high. Yin Feipeng was dissatisfied. "It's 100 billion. Seeing that he could not guess it after a few guesses, Bian Suen said it directly. 100 billion. Yin Feipeng's old face started to twitch. "That's right. 100 billion. Not a cent less." Bian Suen looked as if there was no room for discussion. Yin Feipeng hesitated. Although he could take out 100 billion, it was more painful than cutting his flesh. Seeing that Yin Feipeng did not reply for a long time, Bian Suen said, "In this world, I'm not the only divine doctor. You can find someone else." Then, she pretended to leave. Feng Rao was afraid that Wang Haoren would be unhappy. Thus, she chose not to say anything about treating Yin Yuntian. "Wait." Yin Feipeng stopped her. In the hidden Jianghu, the immortal Medicine Valley's doctors were the most famous and had the most profound medical skills. Bian Suen was the current valley master of the immortal Medicine Valley. Who in the world had better medical skills than her? If he did not find her, who else could he find? 100 billion it is. But I don't have any cash. I need to pay with my assets. Yin Feipeng said. "No problem." Bian Suen stopped and turned around. She smiled and said. Then, she walked to the bedside and said to Yin Yuntian, "I need to do a detailed examination to understand your condition." Yin Yuntian nodded and said to Yin Feipeng, "Father, all of you should leave for a while." He was afraid that his condition would be discovered. Thus, he wanted everyone to leave so that he could be alone with Bian Suen. "There's no need to leave. I'll use a suspension thread to check your pulse." Bian Suen took out the tool she brought and sat on the stool beside the bed. With a flick of her finger, the silk thread flew out and wrapped around Yin Yuntian's wrist. Bien-Suin closed her eyes slightly. She pressed her fair fingers on the silk thread and felt it carefully. After 10 seconds, she slowly opened her eyes. Her expression was solemn. Yin Yuntian suddenly had a bad premonition. He quickly said, "Divine Doctor, if you have anything to say, just tell it to me. Divine Doctor, just say it." Yin Feipin was worried about his son. He was eager to know. "How's my fiancé's condition?" Yun Churin asked with concern. Chapter 388. Hearing Yun Churin's words, Bien-Suin looked at her in surprise. "You're his fiancé?" As she spoke, she showed a sympathetic expression. "Yes, I'm his fiancé. Is there a problem?" Yin Churin found it strange and could not help but ask. "Sigh." Bien-Suin suddenly let out a long sigh. "Divine Doctor, you can just tell me about my illness." Yin Yuntian was panicking. Yin Churin was very uneasy. She asked Bien-Suin seriously, "I'm his fiancé. I have a right to know. Please tell me." "Divine Doctor, don't—" Yin Yuntian wanted to stop her. Bien-Suin ignored him. She met Yin Churin's gaze and said sympathetically, "Do you know that your fiancé has an unmentionable illness?" "Unmentionable illness? What unmentionable illness?" Yin Churin vaguely guessed something, but she still wanted to hear the exact answer. "It's that when he marries you in the future, he won't be able to go through the proper formalities." Bien-Suin's words were more tactful. However, everyone around understood what she meant. Yin Churin turned her head and looked at Yin Yuntian. Yin Yuntian's expression was twisted in pain. He felt inferior and did not dare to look at Yin Churin. Ding! The host manipulated behind the scenes and caused the protagonist, Yin Yuntian's mentality, to be damaged. Obtained 1,200 villain points. Yin Yuntian's protagonist, aura, -60. Host villain aura, +60. My son is fine. Why would he have an unmentionable illness? Yin Feipin was stunned for a while and asked in disbelief. Unmentionable illnesses are divided into 2 types, congenital and acquired. However, based on my observation of his pulse, I'm sure that your son's body was originally very strong. The possibility of congenital illness is almost impossible. Therefore, it should have appeared acquired, Bien-Suin replied. "Divine Doctor, I want to know the reason." Since the matter had been exposed, Yin Yuntian could do nothing. When he heard Bien-Suin's words, he could not help but ask. Actually, Yin Yuntian had some doubts about this matter. Although he did not get close to women in the past, he knew very well whether he could stand up or not. However, he suddenly could not stand up for no reason. There must be a reason behind it. "Did you cultivate any special cultivation method?" Bien-Suin communicated with Wang Haoren and knew what to say. Hearing Yin Yuntian's question, he took the opportunity to ask. Yin Yuntian had some misgivings, so he did not answer immediately. "Hurry up and tell me. The godly doctor can only come up with a treatment plan after he understands your condition." Yin Churin could not help but feel a little anxious, because Yin Yuntian's problem had too much to do with her. Although she didn't like Yin Yuntian, but as a woman, she should at least have her own child, right? Otherwise, she would regret it for the rest of her life. "I've trained in a technique called the mastery carefree art." After being urged, Yin Yuntian still had some hope that the treatment would work. Therefore, he told the truth. "What a bastard. So this cultivation technique was stolen by you." After Feng Xuanzu heard this, she reprimanded him in disgust. This cultivation method was something left behind by her old sect. However, it was sealed as a taboo and was later lost. Feng Xuanzu didn't know who stole it, but now the truth was finally revealed. Yun Xian and Yu Ning's hearts moved, and they looked at each other. Both of them knew that Yin Yuntian practiced the extreme carefree skill. However, they didn't know that Yin Yuntian had stolen it from Feng Xuanzu. What's so special about this cultivation method? Why is it so despicable? Yin Churin was full of curiosity and asked Feng Xuanzu. Feng Xuanzu had seen it once, but she felt embarrassed to say it out loud, so she didn't want to answer. "Tell me, I want to know." Wang Haoren looked like a curious baby. Feng Xuanzu saw that her husband had asked, so she could only tell him about the uniqueness of this cultivation method. When Yin Churin heard this, her face turned red. She looked at Yin Yuntian with a strong sense of disgust. Using such a despicable method to improve one's cultivation was simply an evil method. Moreover, in order to improve one's strength, one had to keep changing women. Yin Charn originally thought that Yin Yuntian was a good candidate for a husband, but now she had a new understanding of Yin Yuntian. At the same time, she couldn't help but feel some resistance towards the marriage contract. This kind of evil cultivation method had a lot of drawbacks. I'm sure that the hidden illness is definitely caused by practicing this cultivation method. Bien Suen immediately made a judgment. When Yin Yuntian heard this, he didn't suspect anything. After all, after practicing this cultivation method, one needed to rely on that aspect to improve one's martial strength and cultivation. The drawbacks of this cultivation method would cause one to lose that aspect of ability. This was actually reasonable. Moreover, he would never have thought that the little fairy doctor, who was famous in the Jianghu and was highly respected, would deceive a patient when she was treating a patient. Then, is there any hope of curing it? Yin Yuntian asked nervously with a glimmer of hope. The drawbacks caused by this cultivation method are irreversible. There's no way to reverse the situation. Bien Su's question was tantamount to labeling Yin Yuntian as an incompetent person for the rest of his life. Yin Yuntian suffered a huge psychological trauma and was dumbfounded. Ding! The host manipulated behind the scenes and caused Yin Yuntian's mentality to be damaged. Obtained 2,000 villain points. Yin Yuntian's protagonist aura -100, host villain aura +100. At the side, Yin Charn's face was also pale. She began to think about how to break off the marriage contract with Yin Yuntian. She could accept a marriage of benefits. However, if she lost the right to be a mother because of this, she could never accept it. Yin Feiping's face was also very ugly. He only had one son, Yin Yuntian, and Yin Yuntian was the only son in the younger generation of the Yin family. Now that Yin Yuntian was incompetent, wouldn't the Yin family have no successors? If that was the case, he wouldn't be able to face his ancestors after he died. Yin Feiping felt bad for a while. Then he couldn't help but look at the beautiful Feng Rao. He was currently in his 40s and was in the prime of his life. Feng Rao was even younger than him. Yin Feiping began to think about some things. After the treatment, Bien Suen was also preparing to leave. Before leaving, she told Yin Feiping to get the medicine from the Celestial Medicine Valley as soon as possible. Yin Feiping also said that he would prepare 100 billion as soon as possible. Although Yin Yuntian's aspect couldn't be cured, it still had to be cured. Wang Haoren felt bored after watching the show, so he left with Feng Xuanzu. Back at the villa, Wang Haoren received a message from Bien Suen asking him out for a meeting. In the message, he told Bien Suen the location of the meeting and went out directly. Feng Xuanzu didn't stop him or ask. Yin Yuntian was lying in the hospital, and it was difficult for him to move. Naturally, he couldn't hurt Wang Haoren. She was relieved. Chapter 389. Wang Haoren left the house and came to a small path in the garden in the villa area. Walking along the road, he saw Bien Suen sitting quietly on a bench under a street lamp. Wang Haoren walked up slowly and sat beside her. He tilted his head and looked at her side profile. Bien Suen's brows were tightly knitted, as if she was hung with unerasable worries. "Suen, what's wrong?" Wang Haoren was confused. He originally thought that Bien Suen had called him out to get intimate with him. But looking at Bien Suen's expression, it was obvious that she didn't have that intention. Ever since I started studying medicine, I've been abiding by medical ethics. I didn't dare to relax. Today, I did such a thing to deceive people. My conscience can't be at ease. It's an insult to the medicine of Mortal Valley and the title of Little Fairy Doctor. Bien Suen frowned. She was blaming herself and feeling ashamed. Wang Haoren was stunned. Before this, he really didn't think about it. He only wanted to cheat Yin Yuntian and didn't care about Bien Suen at all. "But if you don't want to, you could have said it then," Wang Haoren said. When he asked Bien Suen to do these things on the phone, Bien Suen didn't mention it at all. She only hesitated for a while before agreeing. I was afraid that you'd be angry." Bien Suen explained, as she was afraid that it would affect Wang Haoren's mood. "I'm not blaming you. It's just that it's hard for me to get over it. I'll adjust after a few days. It's my fault." I didn't consider your feelings. Wang Haoran comforted her and rubbed her shoulders. As your girlfriend, it's only right for me to do something for you. It's not your fault. It's my fault. After chatting with Wang Haoran for a while, Bien Suan's melancholy gradually dissipated a little. Why don't you say something interesting to divert my attention? Then I won't keep thinking about it. Maybe I'll feel better then. Hearing this, Wang Haoran thought for a while, but couldn't think of any interesting topics for the time being. However, as he turned his gaze, he saw an extremely beautiful face right in front of him. With a thought, Wang Haoran leaned his head forward slightly. Bien Suan was bewildered. She slowly closed her eyes. A few minutes later, Wang Haoran sat up straight again and asked, "Do you feel better now?" Bien Suan blushed. Just now, he had put his heart and soul into it. He had completely forgotten the guilt he felt for fooling the patient. At this moment, his mood was simply much better. However, she still wanted to continue, so she said, "It's still a little uncomfortable." Then, Bien Suan closed her eyes, and her beautiful face leaned forward. How could Wang Haoran not know what she was thinking? Of course, he did as she wished. After a while, the worry on Bien Suan's face was completely gone. She was in high spirits. "I'm okay." Bien Suan smiled gently. Wang Haoran instinctively touched his mouth. To be honest, it was a little numb. "It's late at night, and it's a little cold here. Should we find a place to chat?" Wang Haoran revealed an inexplicable smile. Bien Suan understood him. She couldn't help but feel happy. Then, she remembered something. I'm not free today." Wang Haoran instantly felt depressed. Previously, he had quarreled with Feng Rao. Now, he had quarreled with Bien Suan. After a long time, he couldn't help but feel a little uncomfortable. "Let's wait for a few days. When I'm free, I'll tell you," Bien Suan said as she saw his gloomy face. Wang Haoran's mood became better. After chatting with Bien Suan for a while, he said goodbye to her. He was ready to go home and call Chiu Qianwei. However, when he was about to go back to the villa, he saw two familiar faces walking towards him. They were Lu Chun and Lu Yan. However, their vision wasn't as far as Wang Haoran's, so they didn't see Wang Haoran yet. The two of them were talking as they walked. "Brother, are you serious? You bought a villa here?" Lu Yan asked in disbelief. "How can it be fake? Your brother can make a lot of money by treating people." Lu Chun was proud. He pointed in a direction and said, "Do you see it? It's the third one from the left. I spent more than 3 million to get it from the auction at the court." "More than 3 million? That's so expensive." Lu Yan was shocked. "Yes, but it's considered cheap," Lu Chun said. "Because the house caught fire, it was renovated once. The previous owner was an outlaw." "Huh? Is it a bad omen to live in such a house?" Lu Yan was a little uneasy. Lu Chun laughed. "Silly girl, you've read so many books. Why are you so superstitious?" "Is there no other house?" Lu Yan asked. "There's no better house near Qingling University. For the convenience of going to and from school, this is the only place I can choose," Lu Chun said. Lu Yan nodded and didn't continue to think about the house. What a coincidence! A familiar voice came from the front. Lu Yan was stunned. She looked up and was overjoyed. She jogged forward and jumped into someone's arms. "Why are you here?" Lu Yan asked happily. "I live nearby," Wang Haoran replied with a smile. Then, he looked forward and saw a pair of eyes filled with jealousy. Lu Chun was in a bad mood. He walked over slowly and ignored Wang Haoran. Instead, he said to Lu Yan, "Yin Yan, it's late. We should go back. Wait for a while." Lu Yan didn't want to leave. She stayed in his warm embrace and didn't want to leave so soon. Wang Haoran saw Lu Chun and Lu Yan's conversation just now, but he deliberately asked, "Do you live nearby too?" "Yes, my brother bought a villa here." Lu Yan didn't hide it. "Really? Congratulations." Wang Haoran smiled at Lu Chun, then said, "You're a genius. Is it convenient for me to visit your house?" He was going to summon Chiu Qianwei, but now he changed his mind. "It's late. Let's go home." Lu Chun didn't welcome them. Wang Haoran saw this and looked at Lu Yan lovingly. "Brother, you can go to your villa yourself." "I'm not going," Lu Yan said to Lu Chun, dissatisfied. "Yin Yin." Lu Chun was helpless. He could only change his words to Wang Haoran. "Please." Wang Haoran smiled and followed Lu Chun and Lu Yin to a villa. Suddenly, he sighed. He knew the original owner of this villa. It was Yi Qiu. After Yi Qiu was convicted, all his assets were confiscated, and this villa was auctioned off through the court. Who would have thought that Lu Chun would actually buy this villa by accident? Chapter 390. Wang Haoran arrived at the villa. Within a few minutes, Lu Chun ordered him to leave. It's late. You've been a guest. Please leave. Wang Haoran smiled faintly. Since he was already here, how could he leave? Well said. It's already so late. I might as well stay here for the night. Am I welcome? Wang Haoran asked with a smile. Lu Chun's face tensed up as he stared at Wang Haoran. It seems like you're not welcome. Wang Haoran looked at Lu Yin, who was walking over with a cup of tea. Brother, what's wrong with you? It's not like you don't have an empty room. What's wrong with letting my boyfriend stay for the night? Lu Yin placed the tea on the coffee table and said unhappily with her hands on her hips. No. Lu Chun refused sternly. Lu Yin snorted and grabbed Wang Haoran's hand, wanting to leave with him. Yin Yin. Lu Chun was anxious and immediately stopped her. Let's talk nicely. Don't leave. Then are you going to let my boyfriend stay here or not? Lu Yin asked. Lu Chun was extremely unwilling, but seeing Lu Yin's attitude, he could only agree helplessly. I'll go make the bed. Lu Chun gritted his teeth and turned to walk toward the bedroom. His grandfather had been discharged from the hospital, but his grandfather was nostalgic. Plus, he didn't know anyone here, so he still stayed in the old house. Lu Chun was busy and didn't have time to take care of him, so he spent money to hire a caretaker. In this villa, there were only 2 beds for the time being. Lu Chun had prepared them for himself and his sister. Now that Wang Haoran wanted to stay, he naturally had to prepare another bed. Lu Chun was angry. After making the bed, he sprinkled some itching powder on it. After doing this, Lu Chun returned to the living room. It's late. I'll go rest. Yin Yin, you go rest too. After Lu Chun said this, he looked at Wang Haoran mockingly and pointed to the bedroom where the bed was just made. You sleep there. With that, Lu Chun went back to the bedroom. Whenever he saw Wang Haoran, he would get angry. What the eye doesn't see, the heart doesn't grieve over. After Lu Chun left, Lu Yin said to Wang Haoran, Go and rest. Okay. Wang Haoran nodded, but he walked toward Lu Yin's bedroom. Just now, he had used his X-ray vision to see Lu Chun's little movements. Of course, he wouldn't be stupid enough to sleep in the bedroom where Lu Chun had just made the bed. Furthermore, there was a more important reason why he chose to stay here. Why are you? Lu Yin was shocked to see Wang Haoran walk into the wrong room. She immediately wanted to remind him. Wang Haoran immediately made a gesture. Lu Yin understood, and her face couldn't help but turn red. She immediately shut her mouth and didn't make a sound. The 2 of them quietly walked into the same bedroom. Lu Chun was in the bedroom. After studying the prescription for a while, he felt a little sleepy and prepared to rest. However, when he thought of the itching powder incident, he suddenly laughed. He quietly walked out of the bedroom and came to Wang Haoran's bedroom. He wanted to hear the irritated sound of Wang Haoran scratching his itch. However, he found that the door of the bedroom was open and empty. If Wang Haoran didn't live in it, then where did he live? Lu Chun immediately looked suspiciously at Lu Yin's tightly shut bedroom door. He walked forward and pressed his ear against the door to listen carefully. Soon, Lu Chun's eyes widened. At the same time, a burst of anger rose in his heart. Ding! The host has damaged the protagonist, Lu Chun's mentality. Obtained 500 villain points. Lu Chun's protagonist aura -25. Host villain aura +25. Ding! The host has damaged the protagonist, Lu Chun's mentality. Obtained 500 villain points. Lu Chun's protagonist aura -25. Host villain aura +25. Ding! The host has damaged the protagonist, Lu Chun's mentality. Obtained 500 villain points. Lu Chun's protagonist aura -25. Host villain aura +25. Wang Haoran. The sudden system notification made Wang Haoran puzzled for a moment. Soon, he found Lu Chun, who was eavesdropping on the door. Wang Haoran smiled mockingly and worked harder. Ding! The host has damaged the protagonist, Lu Chun's mentality. Obtained 600 villain points. Lu Chen's protagonist aura -30. Host villain aura +30. Ding. The host has damaged the protagonist Lu Chen's mentality. Obtained 700 villain points. Lu Chen's protagonist aura -35. Host villain aura +35. Ding. The host has captured the female protagonist Lu Yan. Obtained 1,400 villain points. Lu Chen's protagonist aura -70. Lu Yan's protagonist aura -70. Host villain aura +140. The next morning, Wang Haoran woke up energetically and prepared to go to school. However, when he walked out of the bedroom, he found fingernail scratches on the door. Wang Haoran was stunned. Then, he smiled mockingly and left slowly. He thought to himself, I'll stay here again tonight. Hearing the sound of the door opening and closing, Lu Chun walked out of the bedroom and came to the door. He looked in the direction Wang Haoran left. He clenched his fists and gritted his teeth. Good morning, brother. Behind him, there was a shout. Lu Yan was glowing and had a spring breeze smile on her face. However, Lu Chen's heart ached when he saw her. He could not let Yin Yin continue to suffer. Lu Chun thought to himself and began to think of a way to deal with Wang Haoran. In the afternoon, Wang Haoran wandered around the campus, ready to call someone for a chat. However, he keenly noticed that someone was following him. He pretended to tie his shoelaces and scan the surroundings with his X-ray vision. Soon, he found the sneaky Lu Chun. It seemed that Lu Chun had been traumatized after hearing the commotion yesterday. It seemed that he was going to target him. Wang Haoran thought to himself. He was not in a hurry to find Lu Chun. He pretended not to know and continued to walk on Red Maple Road in the campus. He was ready to send a message to Su Muyin to come over for a chat. However, before he sent the message, a figure in front of him suddenly walked straight toward him. Seeing this figure, Wang Haoran was surprised. How did you know that Yin Yun Tian has problems in that area? The person was Yun Chuan. There was a hint of hostility in his tone. I found out by chance, Wang Haoran said perfunctorily. Is that so? Yun Chuan had a look of distrust on her face as she scrutinized Wang Haoran. I know that you know the little fairy doctor from yesterday. Wang Haoran was secretly shocked, but he smiled on the surface. Why do you think so? I noticed that the way she looked at you was different from how she looked at others, Yin Chuan said. You're ridiculous. Can't she look at me more because I'm handsome? Wang Haoran was afraid that she was lying to him. Of course, he would not admit that he knew Biensuan. Hearing Wang Haoran's words, Yin Chuan's firm expression obviously wavered. If you have time to talk to me about this, why don't you solve your own problem? Wang Haoran did not want her to keep harping on this issue, so he changed the topic. Chapter 391. After seeing Wang Haoran's reaction, Yun Chuan fell silent. Before Yin Yuntian's hidden illness was announced, Wang Haoran told her about it in the corridor. When they were in the ward, Yin Chuan noticed that Biensuan looked at Wang Haoran strangely. They seemed to have a close relationship. Therefore, Yun Chuan suspected that Yin Yuntian's hidden illness might be related to Wang Haoran. To be more precise, Wang Haoran ordered Biensuan to do it. As the saying went, pick the soft persimmon. It would be much easier to start with Wang Haoran than with Biensuan. After Yin Chuan found out about Wang Haoran's activities, she came to him to try to get information from him. Unfortunately, Wang Haoran did not fall for it. However, Yin Chuan still had her doubts. You don't have to worry about my marriage contract, but before that, I have to seek justice for myself. Yin Chuan responded to Wang Haoran's previous words. From a perspective of the sex interests, Yin Yuntian met her standards. However, Yin Yuntian had lost his ability in that aspect, so it was impossible for her to be with Yin Yuntian. However, where could Yun Chuan find another good partner who could bring benefits to the sect? Yun Chuan was resentful, so she wanted to find out if Yin Yuntian's hidden illness was caused by cultivation or if he was secretly harmed. What justice? Wang Haoran asked casually. Of course, find the culprit and compensate me with another Yin Yuntian, Yun Chuan said. You came to me specifically. Do you mean that you think I'm the culprit? Wang Haoran admired Yun Chuan's intuition, but he would not admit it. On the surface, he felt like he had heard a joke. Don't quibble. I know it's you. Yin Sharon was just guessing, but her tone was very certain. She wanted to trick him. Whatever you say. Wang Howren smiled indifferently. With a thought, he took a few steps closer to Yin Sharon and said, However, although this matter has nothing to do with me, I deeply sympathize with your experience. It's not difficult to compensate you with a Yin Yun Tian. What do you mean? Yin Sharon was puzzled. Look at me. I'm much stronger than Yin Yun Tian. How about I be your husband? Wang Howren started to promote himself and revealed a charming smile. When Yin Sharon saw it, she was mesmerized for a moment, but she soon calmed down and reprimanded him. I've already inquired about it. You're just a rich second generation in the secular world. You're just relying on Feng Xuanzu to protect you. That's why you're so unbridled. To put it bluntly, you're just a freeloader. Yin Sharon's tone was full of disdain and sarcasm. She was no longer as gentle and polite as she was when they first met. Not to mention being my husband, you don't even have the qualifications to carry my shoes. Seeing this, Wang Howren suddenly had a better understanding of Yin Sharon. This woman showed different faces to different people. The so-called lady of a wealthy family was actually just a facade. After all, she was only 18 years old. She also had the temper and shortcomings that a girl of this age should have. The face in front of him was her true self, because in her opinion, there was no need to put on a facade in front of a pushover. Thinking of this, Wang Howren suddenly showed her an unpleasant expression. I take back what I said just now. Even if you hug my leg and beg me now, I won't look you in the eye. Yin Sharon snorted in response to his words. She felt that he was being sour because he could not eat the grapes. Yin Sharon turned around and did not want to talk nonsense with him. However, after taking 10 steps, she was a little angry. Her delicate hand grabbed at the air, and a maple leaf on the ground flew into her hand. Swoosh! With a flick of her finger, the maple leaf flew out and brushed past Wang Howren's face. It hit the maple tree dozens of meters away and deeply embedded in it. She did not hurt him. She was just trying to scare him. I'm doing this for Feng Xuanzu's sake. Otherwise, you wouldn't be standing. After saying that, Yin Sharon left. If you really wanted to attack me, then you wouldn't be standing here. Wang Howren looked at her back as she left and snorted. Behind him, Lu Chen was shocked, because the tree that the maple leaf hit was right next to him. Lu Chen curiously walked over to take a look and was immediately stunned. His worldview was refreshed. It turned out that there was such a powerful person in this world. This was simply the means of a first-class master in the world of martial arts. Lu Chen was amazed, and then he could not help but feel regretful. How he wished that the maple leaf had been nailed to Wang Howren's head. Unfortunately, that beauty did not want to kill Wang Howren. If she didn't want to kill him, could he create a scene? Lu Chen was troubled about how to deal with Wang Howren. He had thought of poisoning, backstabbing, and other methods. However, these methods were really inferior. Even if he could kill Wang Howren, he would be in big trouble. Lu Chen did not want to go to jail. Yin Sharon's appearance gave Lu Chen an idea. That was to kill with a borrowed knife. With this idea, Lu Chen did not continue to follow Wang Howren. Instead, he began to think of a detailed countermeasure. However, what Lu Chen did not notice was that his movements were all in Wang Howren's field of vision. Why did you stop following me? Did you come up with an idea to deal with me? Wang Howren watched Lu Chen leave and muttered to himself. After what happened last night, and Lu Chen suddenly followed him. Wang Howren could completely guess that Lu Chen wanted to deal with him. Now that he suddenly left thoughtfully, it was very likely that he came up with an idea to deal with him. However, Wang Howren did not panic at all. Lu Chen had almost no martial arts value. The only thing he could rely on was his medical skills. However, it was impossible for Lu Chen to use his medical skills to harm him. After all, Wang Howren knew the supreme poison scripture and was very familiar with the methods of using medicine or drugs to harm people. In this way, Lu Chen was far inferior. The main method that Lu Chen had inherited was to save people. As the saying goes, there are specializations in every field. Lu Chen was good at saving people, and Wang Howren was good at harming people. Night fell. Wang Haoran followed the original plan and contacted Lu Yin, proposing to stay at Lu Qin's villa for the night. Lu Yin naturally did not object, but she still made a call to inform Lu Qin in advance. Yin Yin, when are you coming back? Lu Qin asked over the phone. I'm on the way. I'll be back soon, Lu Yin replied. Then, she wanted to say that Wang Haoran would also come over. However, before she could say it, Lu Qin said, Will your boyfriend come today? Will your boyfriend come over today? His tone was gentle, and he didn't sound angry. Lu Yin was a little surprised. Brother, I'm going to bring him over to stay. Is that okay? Sure, bring him over. Lu Qin agreed immediately. When he answered, there was even a hint of urgency in his tone. Brother, you're so nice. Lu Yin was very happy and ended the call. Wang Haoran was beside them. When he heard the conversation between the two, he could not help but be a little surprised. Lu Yin was naive. She only thought that Lu Qin had accepted her. However, Wang Haoran knew that this was impossible. There was definitely something fishy about Lu Qin's agreement. However, Wang Haoran was skilled and bold. He was not afraid at all. He wanted to see what kind of clever plan this Lu Qin could come up with to harm people. Chapter 392. Wang Haoran and Lu Yin arrived at the villa. At this moment, Lu Qin was in the living room, concentrating on mixing the medicinal powder. Brother, what are you doing? Lu Yin asked curiously. A big boss spent millions to order this medicine from me. I have to mix it quickly and send it over tomorrow, Lu Qin replied. What medicine? What disease does it treat? It's actually worth millions? Lu Yin exclaimed. Child, don't ask blindly, Lu Qin replied with a straight face. Lu Yin pouted. She was a little dissatisfied, but she did not continue asking. Wang Haoran, who was standing at the side, felt a little strange, because he felt that Lu Qin's words seemed to be directed at him. With this thought, Wang Haoran walked closer to Lu Qin. He wanted to see what medicine he was mixing. Lu Qin noticed him approaching, but he just glanced at him without saying anything. He did not make any move to chase him away. I heard that you're proficient in medicine? Wang Haoran asked. So what if I am? Do you want me to take a look at your illness? Lu Qin said lightly. I'm not sick, but I was a little tired last night. My waist is a little sore, Wang Haoran said deliberately. Hearing this, Lu Qin's action of mixing the medicinal powder obviously froze. Ding! The host has damaged the protagonist Lu Qin's mentality. Gained 500 villain points. Lu Qin's protagonist aura minus 25. Host's villain aura plus 25. After a few seconds of silence, Lu Qin continued mixing the medicinal powder without saying anything. After silently mixing the medicinal powder, Lu Qin left on his own. However, when he got up, a small piece of paper fell on his body. Click! Lu Qin walked into the bedroom and closed the door. Wang Haoran picked up the small piece of paper on the floor and looked at it. There were some herbs written on the paper. It seemed to be a prescription. At the end of the paper, there was a note about the prescription. When Wang Haoran saw the note at the end, he felt strange, because, from the note, this medicine was used to deal with women. After a woman used it, even if she was cold, she would not be able to control herself. Moreover, after the deed was done, the woman would not be able to leave the man who had detoxified her and would fall madly in love with him. Wang Haoran did not need to look at those medicinal herbs to know that this was complete nonsense. Wang Haoran was much more proficient in using drugs to deal with women. That was because there were at least 50 types of poison recorded in the Supreme Poison Scripture. However, none of them had such a miraculous effect. As an orthodox miracle doctor, Lu Qin could not possibly be better than Wang Haoran when it came to concocting this kind of medicine. Moreover, in terms of medical knowledge, there was no such medicine. Of course, from the medicinal herbs written on the note, if it was really used on women, it would still have some effect. According to Lu Qin, this was set by a big boss. Although Lu Qin had exaggerated the effects of the medicine, it did have some effect. However, what was the difference between this and helping the evildoer? For the sake of money, he concocted such a despicable drug. Was this something a protagonist should do? Crack! Just as Wang Haoran was thinking about this, Lu Qin walked out of the bedroom. Yin Yin, I'm going out to buy something. Lu Qin greeted Lu Yin, who was in the kitchen, and went out. His bedroom door was not closed. It was open. Wang Haoren walked toward Lu Chen's bedroom with curiosity in his heart. The medicinal powder that Lu Chen had just concocted was openly placed on the bedside table in the bedroom. Was he deliberately creating an opportunity for himself? The doubts that lingered in Wang Haoren's mind were gradually being solved. The medicinal powder that Lu Chen had concocted was not set by some big boss. It was given to him indirectly. He accidentally dropped the note and took the opportunity to go out. It was all to create an opportunity for him. However, the effect of this medicinal powder had yet to be confirmed. Wang Haoren could not make a complete judgment. Of course, it was not difficult to know the effect of the medicinal powder. Wang Haoren stole a packet of medicinal powder. About 10 minutes later, Lu Chen came back from outside. After returning to the bedroom, he did not come out to say that a packet of medicinal powder was missing or that someone had stolen his medicinal powder. Late at night, everything was silent. Wang Haoren used his X-ray vision to look into Lu Chen's room. After confirming that he was asleep, he quietly woke Lu Yin up. He took out the medicinal powder that he had stolen from Lu Chen and gave it to Lu Yin to eat. Soon, Wang Haoren saw the effect. Lu Yin was aroused and could not control herself. However, after a few minutes of exercise, her blood flow accelerated and the medicinal effect disappeared. She was completely awake. When Wang Haoren saw this, he completely understood Lu Chen's intentions. Lu Chen's series of actions were to let him take the medicinal powder to deal with women, or to be more precise, to deal with Yun Charan. From Lu Chen's point of view, Wang Haoren was a complete scumbag. When he saw a beautiful woman, he would have thoughts. During the day, Lu Chen saw with his own eyes that Wang Haoren was defeated by the beautiful Yun Charan. Was Wang Haoren angry? Of course he was angry because he could not eat it. If Wang Haoren had such a magical medicinal powder, he would definitely use it to deal with Yun Charan. Yun Charan would fall for it at first, but she would soon wake up. At this time, what would Yun Charan do when she was shocked and angry? Was there need to ask? Of course, she would kill Wang Haoren directly. With Yun Charan's high martial strength, this was simply a piece of cake. However, this was just Lu Chen's wishful thinking. He never expected that Wang Haoren knew medicine and was even stronger than Yun Charan. However, from Lu Chen's point of view, the feasibility of his method was actually very high. This kid is really sinister. Should I go over and kill him directly? Wang Haoren was a little unhappy and immediately had this idea. However, Wang Haoren did not want to do it himself. After thinking for a while, he suddenly thought of a better idea. He took Lu Yan's phone and searched through the photo album for a while. He found some photos of Lu Chen. In these photos, there were photos of his face from all angles. Wang Haoren packaged the photos and sent them to his phone. Then, he sent these photos to Bufian. At the same time, he edited a message and sent it to her. Help me make this person's human skin mask. The more realistic, the better. How long will it take to make it? As an international assassin, Bufian was proficient in disguise and disguise. Among the people Wang Haoren knew, no one was more suitable for this job than her. Is it urgent? Bufian asked. Wang Haoren, as soon as possible. Bufian, go and find the materials tomorrow morning. It should be ready by the evening. Wang Haoren, okay, I'll wait for your news. When Lu Chen's mask arrived tomorrow evening, they could start the crime at night. Didn't Lu Chen want to borrow Yun Charan's knife? Then let him try first and see if the knife was fast enough. Chapter 393. Early morning. Yin Yan. Lu Chen knocked on Lu Yan's bedroom door and called out. Hearing the noise, Lu Yan panicked and blushed. However, she still braced herself and replied, Brother, what's the matter? The big boss who ordered the medicine is rushing me. I'm going out to deliver the medicine to the big boss. Get up and make something to eat. Maybe go out and eat, Lu Chen said through the door. Got it, Lu Yin quickly replied. Not long after, the sound of the door opening and closing could be heard. Wang Haoren could not help but smile when he heard it. Lu Chen knocked on the door and deliberately said these words. He did not say it to Lu Yin, but to himself. His goal was to make himself more convinced of the effect of the medicine powder and find a target as soon as possible. Call your brother and tell him that you won't be staying here today. You'll be staying in the school dormitory. Since Lu Chun liked to act, Wang Haoran decided to play along. What? Lu Yin was confused. Exams are coming soon. I have to rush my homework tonight, so I can't accompany you. What's the point of staying here? You have to run to and from school twice, Wang Haoran explained. You have homework to rush. Hearing Wang Haoran say that he was not free tonight, Lu Yin could not help but feel disappointed. However, she quickly adjusted her mood and made a call. Yin Yin, what's the matter? Lu Chun asked over the phone. Brother, I'll be staying in school tonight, Lu Yin said. Is it uncomfortable here? Lu Chun asked. Why would it be? It's such a nice house. Of course it's comfortable, Lu Yin said. Oh, I understand. Did you not want to come here because Wang Haoran said that he had no time to accompany you tonight? Lu Chun guessed. He has exams soon. He has to rush his homework tonight. Lu Yin answered truthfully. Hearing this, Lu Chun could not help but sneer. Did this rich second-generation heir still need to study? Only his silly sister could be fooled by the nonsense of rushing his homework. This rich second-generation heir probably wanted to use the medicine powder he stole from him to do bad things. That was why he did not accompany his sister. However, this was exactly what Lu Chun wanted. All right then, you can come whenever you want. Anyway, your fingerprints are on the door lock, Lu Chun said. Yes, Lu Yin replied. She thought for a moment and suddenly said, it shouldn't be a problem if I bring my boyfriend next time, right? No problem. If you want to bring him here, then bring him here, Lu Chun said generously. Brother, you're the best. That's all for now. I'm hanging up. Lu Yin happily hung up the phone. Wang Haoran's eyes narrowed when he heard this. Actually, asking Lu Yin to make this call to tease Lu Chun was only secondary. The main reason was that Wang Haoran wanted Lu Yin to stay away from Lu Chun during this period of time so that she would not be implicated. In the evening, Wang Haoran and Bu Fian met at a secret location and obtained the mask made by Bu Fian. Wang Haoran unfolded the human skin mask and put it on his face. Then he took a selfie with his phone and sized it up. After putting on the human skin mask, he looked 70 to 80% similar to Lu Chun. However, his face was slightly stiff. If it was in front of someone who was familiar with Lu Chun, he would definitely not be able to hide it. However, Wang Haoran did not use this human skin mask to deal with people who were familiar with Lu Chun, so it did not matter. If it wasn't for the rush, I could have made it more realistic. Is this okay? If not, I can take it back and make some adjustments, Bu Fian said. No need. This is good enough, Wang Haoran said. That's good. Bu Fian smiled. Thanks. I have something to do, so I can't chat with you anymore. Wang Haoran put away the human skin mask and said goodbye. Okay. Bu Fian wanted to stay with Wang Haoran for a while, but when she heard that he had something to do, she did not stop him. After parting with Bu Fian, Wang Haoran went to the hospital where Yin Yuntian was. He had already heard from Yuning that Yun Churin was in the hospital at the moment. Later, she would go back to Yin Yuntian's mansion to rest. Wang Haoran stayed in a library near the hospital. He used his X-ray vision and stared at the entrance of the building where Yin Yuntian was hospitalized. If Yun Churin wanted to leave, she would have to pass through the entrance. Wang Haoran planned to make his move on Yun Churin's way back. However, after waiting for a while, Yun Churin did not come out. Instead, he saw Biansuan. He saw Biansuan carrying some medicinal herbs wrapped in yellow paper. It seemed that she was going to deliver them to Yin Yuntian, or more accurately, she was going to help Wang Haoran cheat money. Wang Haoran watched Biansuan walk into the hospital building. About 10 minutes later, Biansuan came out of the hospital building. When she came to the door, Biansuan suddenly stopped and fiddled with her phone. It seemed that she was dialing a number. Buzz. Wang Haoran immediately felt that his phone was vibrating. He picked up the phone and saw that it was Biansuan calling. Wang Haoran and Biansuan were far apart, so it was not a problem for him to answer the call. He pressed the answer button. I'm free today. Biansuan's shy voice came from the phone. Wang Haoran didn't understand what she meant at first. However, he quickly recalled what Biansuan had said last night. Then, he immediately understood. However, he had something important to do, so he did not have time to see Biansuan. Wang Haoran could not help but feel depressed. He was about to reply to Biansuan that he would see her another day. However, Just as she opened her mouth, she realized that Yun Churin was following Bien Suin sneakily not far behind her. Wang Haoran guessed for a few seconds. He suddenly thought that Yun Churin might want to find out the real reason for Yin Yuntian's hidden illness from Bien Suin. This Yun Churin was still thinking about Yin Yuntian's hidden illness and wanted to know the truth. When she saw that she could not get an answer from Bien Suin, she actually wanted to ask Bien Suin. However, Yun Churin really got the wrong person. This matter really had nothing to do with Bien Suin. Why aren't you replying? Do you think that I'm too frivolous? Bien Suin saw that there was no response from the phone for a long time, so she could not help but feel nervous. Of course not. I'm just too excited. Find a good hotel and book a room. I'll come and find you later. Wang Haoran suddenly changed his mind. He originally planned to wait until Yun Churin was on her way back to the mansion. But now that Yun Churin was following Bien Suin, he might as well use Bien Suin to lead Yun Churin to a more suitable place. Okay, I'll go now. I'll contact you later. Bien Suin was delighted and quickly responded. Chapter 394. Yun Churin followed Bien Suin all the way to a 5-star hotel. To avoid being discovered by Bien Suin, Yun Churin stood a distance away and watched from outside the hotel. However, Yun Churin still vaguely saw that Bien Suin seemed to have booked a room at the front desk. Then, she took the room card and took the elevator to the first floor. Bien Suin is temporarily staying in Qingling. With her status, it doesn't make sense that she doesn't have a house. Why did she suddenly book a room at the hotel? Is she meeting someone? Could it be Wang Haoran? Yun Churin thought to herself when she saw Bien Suin's actions. Then, she went to the front desk and booked a room as well. In order to facilitate the investigation, she booked the room next to Bien Suin's. If I catch the meeting, I'll see how they're going to quibble. Yun Churin snorted and took the elevator upstairs. However, Yun Churin didn't notice that someone was watching her from behind. Buzz. Wang Haoran received a message. It was from Bien Suin. She told him the name of the hotel and the room number. Wang Haoran replied and said that he would come over immediately. Then, he put on Lu Chen's human skin mask and went to the hotel. Wang Haoran used his X-ray vision to see the conversation between Yun Churin and the receptionist. Hence, he knew which room Yun Churin was in. After entering the hotel, Wang Haoran secretly destroyed the surveillance camera in the corridor outside Yun Churin's room. At this moment, Yun Churin pressed her ear against the wall to listen to the movements in the room next door. The hotel had good soundproofing, but Yun Churin wasn't an ordinary person. She could hear some movements in the room next door. Judging from the slight movements in the room next door, Yun Churin judged that there was only one person there. The person Bien Suin was supposed to meet hadn't arrived yet. She waited patiently. She had a plan in mind. After Bien Suin arrived, she would pretend to be a waiter and knock on the door next door. Then, she would be able to see the situation inside. As long as she saw Wang Haoran and Bien Suin in the same room at the same time, it would prove that they knew each other. Yin Yuntian's unmentionable illness must have something to do with them. Then, she would tell Feng Rao about it and let her deal with it. Dong dong. Hello, supper is here. Just as Yun Churin was thinking, she suddenly heard a knock on the door and a man's voice. Hearing the voice, Yun Churin frowned and thought that the waiter had sent them to the wrong room. I didn't order supper. Send me. She opened the door and was about to explain the situation to the waiter. However, he was met with a cloud of powder. Yun Churin was caught off guard. She inhaled some of the powder and immediately felt the world spinning around her. She immediately realized that she had been drugged with something like a strong knockout drug. A wave of panic rose in his heart. However, before Yun Churin could think too much, she had already fainted. However, a few seconds before she fainted, Yun Churin saw the person's face clearly. Yun Churin was about to collapse to the ground. Wang Haoran, who was wearing Lu Chen's human skin mask, held the door open and closed it tightly. Wang Haoran took out the things he had prepared. These things were fake blood, medicine that would make the skin red and swollen if applied on the skin, medicine that would cause morning sickness and false pregnancy pills for a period of time after taking it, and a student ID card. When he was preparing to beat her at her own game, Wang Haoran did not expect that she would really do it. However, He thought that this kind of behavior was too low-end and not worthy of his identity as a villain. Moreover, Yun Chun had fainted and was like a piece of wood. It was meaningless. Of course, this did not mean that Wang Haoren did not have that kind of thought. What he hoped was that Yun Chun would throw herself at him. That would be more comfortable. However, under the current circumstances, it was obviously impossible. Therefore, Wang Haoren specially prepared these things to fake a crime scene. Moreover, even at this moment, it was not convenient for Wang Haoren to change his mind at the last minute. Bien Suen was waiting anxiously next door. Wang Haoren had to report to Bien Suen. Naturally, it was even more inconvenient for him to actually commit the crime. After nimbly faking the crime scene, Wang Haoren pulled off Lu Chen's human skin mask. Then, he used his X-ray vision to look at the situation in the corridor outside. When there was no one around, Wang Haoren knocked on the door of Bien Suen's room. Come in. Bien Suen's watery eyes were filled with nervousness and fear. Ding! The host has captured the female lead Bien Suen for the first time. Obtained 2,800 villain points. Bien Suen's female lead halo minus 140. The host's villain halo plus 140. Wang Haoren was stunned. Then, he used his X-ray vision to look at the situation next door. Yun Chun slowly woke up and slowly regained consciousness. She noticed the abnormality in her body. Immediately, a strong sense of panic rose in her heart. She tried her best to recall the situation before she fainted. Sensing her current state, she completely understood what had happened. Pain, hatred, panic, and other emotions intertwined in her heart. Yun Chun felt like she was about to collapse. However, Yun Chun still forced herself to calm down. Soon, she saw something that did not belong to her at the door of the room. She picked it up and saw that it was a student ID. There was an inch-long photo on it. The face on the inch-long photo looked familiar. It was the waiter who knocked on the door. Yun Chun immediately determined that the waiter had accidentally left it behind when he left in a hurry. Qingling University, second-year medical student Lu Chun. Yun Chun obtained the key information from the student ID. She walked out of the room with a look of anger and hatred. Wang Haoren saw this scene with his X-ray vision from next door. He nodded in satisfaction. He was originally worried that this method of framing was too clumsy. He was afraid that the shrewd Yun Chun would see through it. However, Yun Chun was already blinded by hatred. She did not think too much about it and believed the evidence on the surface. Bien Suen was too tired. She had already fallen into a deep sleep. However, even in her sleep, her brows were still slightly furrowed. It seemed that she had not recovered from the storm. However, there was a happy and sweet aftertaste at the corner of her mouth. Wang Haoren left the hotel quietly and rushed in the direction of Qingling University. Yun Chun was not stupid. If she woke up, she would probably realize that there was something wrong with this matter. He had to guide her to find Lu Chun while she was at her most angry. However, the information on Lu Chen's student ID was still too little. If he was right, Yun Chun would definitely go directly to Qingling University to find Lu Chun. Unfortunately, Lu Chun did not live on campus. He lived outside the school. Wang Haoren had to use someone to convey this information to Yun Chun as soon as possible. In order to avoid any mistakes, it was best to not let Yun Chun's revenge last night. Otherwise, things might not go so smoothly. Wang Haoren contacted Lu Hua, Lu Ming, and Wei Zhihong. He told them to wander around the second-year students. If they met a beautiful woman who asked about Lu Chun, they would tell them Lu Chen's specific address outside the school. After doing this, Wang Haoren went directly to Lu Chen's villa and waited. He was ready to watch a show. It was just that no one could say for sure if this scene would play out tonight. Chapter 395. Slurp. In the living room of the villa, Lu Chun opened a bottle of champagne and slowly poured half a glass. He picked up the glass, swirled it a few times, and then took a sip. Lu Chun felt refreshed, and his mood became even more cheerful. Does this rich second-generation son of AB*TCH really think that there's such a medicine in this world? He actually stole it. Let's see how he's going to die. Lu Chun had a happy smile on his face as he muttered to himself. After coming up with this plan, he was originally worried that Wang Haoren would not fall for it. After all, the note on the note was too magical. Who knew that, after Wang Haoren saw the slip of paper, he actually believed it naively and really stole the powder? He even lied to his sister that he had to do homework at night. Lu Chan could completely guess that Wang Haoren had taken the medicinal powder to do something bad. It was already 11 o'clock at night. It was already very late. If Wang Haoren really did something bad, he would have already done it. It was very likely that he would be dead by now. Lu Chan listened to the music and drank the champagne. Before he knew it, he had finished the champagne. He burped in satisfaction. It was already late. It was time to rest. However, Lu Chan was a little too excited and could not fall asleep. He took out some medicinal herbs and prepared to grind them into medicinal powder pills. Through his medical skills, he had made friends with some rich people. These rich people had their own circles. After his miraculous medical skills spread in the circle, his business became better and better. Many people came to Lu Chan for treatment and medicine. Among them, there was a big boss who was old and powerless. He specially ordered some medicine from Lu Chan, wanting to regain his youthful glory. After checking on the other party's condition, Lu Chan felt that there was no problem at all. He wanted to make some pills and send it to the other party. The boss was very generous and directly paid a deposit of 1,000,000 yuan. Lu Chan took the money, so of course he had to work hard. Since he could not sleep now, he might as well do something serious. Lu Chan carefully ground the medicinal herbs and prepared to make the pills. After some time, he suddenly saw a beautiful figure beside him. His sister, Lu Yan, did not come tonight. Who could it be? Lu Chan hurriedly turned his head and immediately saw a very beautiful woman. Lu Chan didn't recognize him at first. However, after taking a closer look, he immediately realized that the person in front of him was the beauty that Wang Haoren had failed to flirt with. At this moment, the beauty's face was covered with frost. Her eyes were so cold that it made people's hearts tremble. Every injustice has its perpetrator, and every debt has its debtor. Don't act recklessly. When Lu Chan saw her, he couldn't help but feel nervous. This was because he guessed that Wang Haoren might have dragged him down with him before he died. After all, Wang Haoren had stolen the medicine from him. This beauty still hadn't vented her anger after killing Wang Haoren, so she still wanted to find trouble with him. Yin Charan stared at Lu Chan. She wasn't sure at first. After all, although the person in front of her looked very similar to the person who had plotted against her, she felt that there were some differences. However, when she saw how flustered Lu Chan was, her doubts were instantly dispelled. Yin Charan only knew that she was in a daze at that time and did not see it clearly. Moreover, this man seemed to be mixing medicinal powder. Yin Charan subconsciously felt that this medicinal powder was the medicine that had been used to plot against her. With all these signs combined, Yin Charan was completely sure that the man in front of her was the same person who had plotted against her before. Yin Charan raised her hand slightly and took out a needle from somewhere on her body. She clasped the needle between her fingers, then bent her fingers and struck out. Lu Chan was so scared that he kept retreating. At that time, he had seen how Yin Charan had caused great damage with just a fragile maple leaf. Now that she had changed to a needle, one could imagine how powerful it was. Damn bastard, how dare you humiliate me? Go to hell. Yin Charan's eyes were filled with murderous intent. I humiliated you? You're mistaken. At most, I was an unintentional accomplice. I don't deserve to die. Lu Chan begged for mercy. Accomplice? Yin Charan was stunned for a moment, and her hand froze. Previously, this person had said that every injustice had its perpetrator and every debt had its debtor. She only thought that he was talking nonsense. However, at this moment, he still said the same thing. However, although she was confused, the murderous intent in Yin Charan's heart did not decrease at all. You don't believe me, do you? I can't humiliate you. I have evidence. Lu Chan wanted to prove his innocence in a moment of desperation, so he put his hand on his waist and pulled it down. However, before he could finish speaking, he suddenly stopped. Lu Chan's figure fell to the ground with his eyes wide open. A needle was deeply embedded between his eyebrows. Ding! The host manipulated behind the scenes and caused the protagonist, Lu Chan, to be killed. Reward, 5,000 villain points. When Yun Charan saw this, she did not feel the joy of revenge. Instead, she was stunned. This was because she saw the evidence that Lu Chan had presented. This Lu Chan was a eunuch. Yun Charan knew that she had gotten the wrong person. However, she did not regret anything. This was because Lu Chan had said that he was an accomplice. Since he was an accomplice, he deserved to die. However, once this accomplice died, she would not be able to find out who the real murderer was. Yun Charan was in an extremely bad mood. After cleaning up the clues that she had left behind, she left in a daze. Does it feel good to kill yourself with a borrowed knife? Wang Haoran, who was hiding nearby, saw everything that happened in the villa. He really wanted to walk up to Lu Chun and ask him. However, this question would never be answered, so there was no need to ask. The protagonist of the Miracle Doctor, Lu Chun, was dead just like that. Wang Haoran could not help but sigh. At the same time, he felt a little indignant. Lu Chun was dead, and he had only gained 5,000 villain points. If he were to calculate the total score, he would have suffered a loss. This was because when he was eyeing Lu Chen's Jade Pendant, in order to deal with the soul attack of the Jade Pendant's remnant thoughts, Wang Haoran had spent tens of thousands of villain points to exchange for an intermediate soul attack immunity halo. The villain points that he had extracted from Lu Chun did not seem to be enough to make up for it. More importantly, he had also spent an unlimited push trial card worth 60,000 villain points on Lu Yen. No matter how he looked at it, this was a huge loss. However, the only consolation was that he had planted a trigger on Yun Charan. After a period of time, the medicine that Yun Charan had taken would take effect. It would cause morning sickness and a pregnancy pulse that was enough to pass off as real. If Yin Yuntian knew about this, he should be able to gain a lot of villain points. In addition to Yun Charan, Feng Rao's problem was also a trigger. If these two triggers exploded at the same time, how would Yin Yuntian react? Wang Haoran was a little curious. However, the time to ignite these two triggers still had to be delayed. Firstly, the medicine that Yun Charan had taken would take some time to take effect. Secondly, Yin Yuntian was now seriously injured and had just suffered a wave of attacks. He was now relatively weak. If he was given some time to adjust, his resistance to attacks would increase a lot, and it would not be so easy for him to have a mental breakdown. In this way, he could provide more wool. Chapter 396. After coming to Qingling, Yun Charan, Feng Rao, and Yin Feiping all lived in Yin Yunchen's big house. Although the meteorite had smashed a big hole in the front yard, it only damaged some houses. The house covered a large area, and there were many empty houses in the front yard. In addition to the front yard, there were even more houses in the backyard. Not to mention a few people, it was enough to house dozens of people. After leaving Lu Chen's villa, Yun Charan returned to the big house in a daze. Outside her bedroom, it was already midnight. Logically speaking, the people around him should be asleep. However, Yun Charan heard conversation. "Dear, the bed in my room smells musty. Can I sleep here? There's so many rooms in this house. Don't you know which one to change? I'll change, but it's still the same. You don't have any in your room, right?" "Yes." "Really? Then go in and smell it." Ouch. There was a painful groan, followed by the sound of stumbling and falling to the ground. "Hiss, why did you kick me? It's the middle of the night. Can't you let me sleep? If you continue to knock on the door and disturb my sleep, I'll break your neck." Bang! The door was slammed shut. Sigh. It was a long sigh. Yin Charan was puzzled, so she listened for a while. After the sigh, she was about to walk into the bedroom. "Charan, why are you back so late?" Yin Charan was about to close the door when she heard Yin Feiping's question. Hearing this, Yin Charan panicked subconsciously, but she forced herself to calm down. "I had something to do, so I was delayed." She did not want anyone to know about what happened tonight. "What did you do? Is there any trouble? If so, tell me, and I can help you solve it," Yin Feiping said politely. "It's nothing, just a small matter." Yin Charan responded vaguely. She was afraid that Yin Feiping would continue to harp on this matter and find some clues, so she wanted to divert his attention. "Uncle, your relationship with Annie doesn't seem to be harmonious. Is there any conflict?" Hearing this, Yin Feiping could not help but look embarrassed. Feng Rao's bedroom was only a few rooms away. Yin Shuren must have heard something just now. It's normal for a couple to have some conflicts. It'll be fine in a few days. Yin Feiping squeezed out a smile. However, he felt very bitter in his heart. He hadn't seen Feng Rao for almost 1 year. Of course, he missed her a lot. In addition, Yin Feiping was preparing to give Yin Yuntian a younger brother or sister. Of course, he had such thoughts. However, what made Yin Feiping depressed was that Feng Rao didn't even want to touch his finger, let alone share a room with him. A moment ago, Yin Feiping wanted to act shamelessly and break into Feng Rao's room. However, he was kicked and almost fainted. Yin Feiping felt helpless about this. Feng Rao was much stronger than him. If she didn't want to, Yin Feiping couldn't do anything. If it's just a little conflict, why did it escalate to the point of fighting? Yin Shuren continued to ask. Attack? How could that be? You must have misheard. Yin Feiping felt ashamed and quickly denied it vaguely. Afraid that Yin Shuren would continue to ask, he hurriedly said, It's late. Shuren, go to bed early. Then, he left in a hurry. Seeing this, Yin Shuren couldn't help but breathe a sigh of relief. It seemed that Yin Feiping didn't find anything unusual. At this moment, Yin Shuren walked into the bedroom and closed the door tightly. Then, she sat down at the door weakly. The negative emotions in her heart gushed out and then exploded. Soon, her cheeks were wet with tears. She covered her face and cried for a long time. Then, she kept bathing as if she wanted to wash away the impurities in her body and heart. Tonight was destined to be a sleepless night for Yin Shuren. On the other side, Yin Feiping also couldn't sleep. He wanted to walk out of the bedroom again and knock on Feng Rao's door. However, he remembered Feng Rao's warning and retreated. As for Feng Rao, she opened her eyes at this moment. She didn't feel sleepy at all. Because of Wang Haoran, Feng Rao and Yin Yuntian had become estranged. Now that Yin Yuntian had lost the ability to reproduce, Yin Feiping wanted to continue the family line. In fact, Feng Rao also wanted to do the same. The Fengxi mountain was passed down by their ancestors. Feng Rao naturally had to consider this problem to prevent a lack of successors. Previously, Feng Rao had pinned her hopes on Yin Yuntian. Yin Yuntian's martial arts talent was extraordinary. After changing his surname to Feng, he could definitely inherit the Fengxi mountain. But now, Yin Yuntian was not suitable. In the direct bloodline of the Fengxi mountain, besides Feng Rao, there was also Feng Yun. Her younger sister Feng Yun had a daughter with a secular man. Her younger sister's daughter could be considered a direct descendant. However, her younger sister's daughter had lived in the secular world for a long time. It was doubtful whether she had martial arts talent. Moreover, she had never cultivated, so it was difficult for her to take on a great responsibility. Feng Rao naturally couldn't place her hopes on her younger sister Feng Yun's daughter. Then, she had to bear this responsibility. Feng Rao had to consider this problem to prevent the decline of the Fengxi mountain. Although she was already 36 years old, she was actually very young for a martial artist. Her body was at its peak, so there was no problem for her to conceive. Of course, the partner Feng Rao was considering was not Yin Feiping, but someone else. But what Feng Rao was worried about was whether the person she was thinking about would cooperate with her. After all, he was a little too inconsiderate. He kept hinting at her like a block of wood. Feng Rao couldn't sleep at this moment. She was thinking about how to proceed with this cooperation. Should she talk face-to-face, drug him, or use force to turn what was done into cooked rice? In another place, under the clear night sky, Wang Haoran would never dream that a female supporting character with a full favorability level was plotting against him. Waking up in the morning, Wang Haoran and Biansuan were in the hotel. After having a sweet breakfast, they went to class alone. Boss, our class is having a basketball match with the finance class 112 at noon. Do you want to join? Lu Hua suddenly walked over and asked with a smile when he arrived at the classroom. Not interested. Wang Haoran curled his lips and raised his eyebrows. He seemed to have thought of something. Who in our class is going to play? Me, Lu Ming, and Wei Zhihong. Lu Hua said, Just the three of you? Then how are we going to play? Wang Haoran asked. Our school's basketball team has called for outside help. They will definitely crush the Class 112 team. They will definitely win. So I want to ask boss if you want to play cool and flirt with girls. If you want to go, ask the school team to have one less person. Lu Hua said. Wang Haoran saw Lu Hua's confident look and immediately felt that this matter wasn't so simple. The basketball court was a place where the main character would often show off. How could it be a place for the villain to show off? If he guessed correctly, there would definitely be a main character who would come out and slap Lu Hua's face. Boss, are you going or not? Seeing that Wang Haoran didn't reply, Lu Hua asked again. Count me in. Wang Haoran replied. Chapter 397. Okay, boss. Then call the school team's strongest person over, Lu Hua said. Although it was only an amateur match, it was still played according to the standard. There were only 5 people on the field. Lu Hua's idea was very simple. Together with Lu Ming and Wei Zhihong, there were 3 of them. Originally, he planned to call 2 from the school team, but now that Wang Haoran joined, he could only call 1 person. Those who could make it to the school team were all very good at playing. Picking one of the best should be able to drive the whole game. Even if the situation was not good, he could get a substitute from the school team to play. Don't call anyone from the school team, Wang Haoran said. If we don't call anyone from the school team, how are we going to crush Class 112? Lu Hua was puzzled. Are you looking down on me? Wang Haoran asked. Boss, are you very good at playing? Lu Hua understood and asked in surprise. It's definitely not a problem to bring them to victory, Wang Haoran said. All right then, there are 4 of us. We'll call a boy from our class to make it 5 people. But who should we call? Lu Hua said. You, Lu Ming, and Wei Zhihong. Who is the best? Wang Haoran did not answer, but asked first. Of course it's me. Lu Hua patted his chest and said confidently. Are you sure? Wang Haoran looked at him with a scrutinizing gaze. Lu Hua straightened his back. Of course, if you don't believe me, you can ask Lu Ming and Wei Zhihong. Okay, I believe you. You don't have to play. I'll call 2 other people, Wang Haoran said suddenly. Lu Hua was stunned for a moment and did not react immediately. After a while, he said in bewilderment, Boss, I'm the best. Why don't you let me play? Do I need to explain to you what I do? Wang Haoran glared slightly. No need, no need. Lu Hua hurriedly waved his hand with a smile. At the same time, in Class 112, a group of boys gathered together and discussed animatedly. That Lu Hua from Class 113 is too shameless. He actually found someone from the school team. How are we going to play this game? If they're looking for someone from the school team, we can look for them too. What's there to look for? That Lu Hua is a rich second generation. Even the school team has to give him face. Who do we have? Who would give us face? Then what's the point of fighting? Why don't we just stand him up? The news has already been released, and many people know about it. If we suddenly stop fighting now, our Class 112 will be laughed at. Can you have some sportsmanship? Even if he lost, he still had to go up. Moreover, they won with an unfair advantage. So even if we lose, it won't be too embarrassing. If you want to fight, then go ahead. I don't want to be abused either. I'm not going either. Let's go. After talking for a while, the boys lost their fighting spirit and directly gave up. There were only 4 boys left in the arena. But if they were to compete, they would need 5 people. The remaining 4 people looked at each other, not knowing what to do. Students, I heard that you're going to play a basketball match with the people from Class 113. Are you lacking people? When Lin Mo passed by the classroom door and overheard the conversation, his heart skipped a beat, and he immediately walked into the classroom to ask about it. Yes, sir. One of the boys saw that he didn't look like a student, so he guessed that he was a teacher and nodded subconsciously. Then what do you think of me? Lin Mo volunteered. Sir, can you really do it? The 4 boys looked at Lin Mo suspiciously. Because Lin Mo looked a little thin and weak, and his body was also of average height. Aren't you guys lacking people? Let me give it a try. Lin Mo didn't deliberately boast and acted very humble. The 4 boys looked at each other and didn't have any objections. One of the boys responded on behalf of everyone. Then we'll have to trouble you, sir. They were still relatively sportsmanlike. Since they had agreed, they decided to play even if they lost. Although Lin Mo was a teacher, not a student of the class. But since Class 113 called the school team, there was no problem with them calling a teacher. Of course, They didn't have any hope for Lin and Mo himself. They just wanted to gather enough people to play. When Lin and Mo saw their expressions, he could roughly guess what they were thinking. However, he didn't deliberately explain anything. Everything would be revealed on the court. Lin and Mo left the classroom with a smile and went to Lu Yu's office. On the way, he communicated with the system and exchanged all his recognition points for advanced basketball skills. At the same time, he went from a basketball rookie to a basketball expert. If he played a basketball game with a bunch of students, he would definitely be able to control the entire game. After exchanging for advanced basketball skills, Lin and Mo couldn't help but feel a little heartache. After all, it wasn't easy for him to accumulate these recognition points. However, when he thought about how he could gain more recognition points when he displayed his superb basketball skills on the court, he didn't feel the heartache. In fact, he even felt a strong sense of anticipation in his heart. "Professor Lu, these are the materials for your class later. I've organized all of them." Lin and Mo knocked on the door and walked into Lu Yu's office. He respectfully placed the materials for the class on Lu Yu's desk. Lu Yu was reading a book with her head lowered. She didn't look up and just gave a faint reply. Seeing that, Lin and Mo didn't want to disturb her. However, when he saw the contents of the book Lu Yu was reading, he couldn't help but ask, "Professor Lu, what do you think of basketball rules books? Are you interested in basketball as well?" "It's all right, but I haven't played in a long time. I have to be the referee for a basketball game at noon. I'm afraid I'll forget some things, so I quickly took a look. I don't want to make a mistake and make a fool of myself," Lu Yu replied. "Is it the basketball game between the finance department's Class 112 and Class 113? Lin and Mo was delighted and quickly asked, "Yes, you know about it too?" Lu Yu's eyes left the book and looked at him. "Not only do I know about it, but I've also teamed up with the students from Class 112. I'll be playing as well," Lin and Mo said. "You're an assistant teacher. How can you play? It's against the rules." Lu Yu frowned. "Professor Lu, you still don't know, right?" Wang Howard from Class 113 shamelessly called for the school team. Class 112 felt that they would definitely lose and didn't want to play. If I didn't join, they wouldn't even be able to gather enough people. Lin and Mo started to smear Lu Yu's name. Actually, he had overheard the conversation earlier and knew that Lu Hua from Class 113 had called for the school team. However, at this moment, he didn't hesitate to put the blame on Wang Howard. That Wang Howard. Lu Yu's face was clearly unhappy. From her point of view, Wang Howard's actions were disgraceful and even shameless. He actually called for the school team to help out when the class was playing a game. Lin and Mo saw Lu Yu's expression and knew that he had succeeded. He couldn't help but be secretly delighted. Chapter 398. Lu Yu's expression tensed up for a moment before it slowly relaxed. Although she was displeased with Wang Howard's actions, there was nothing she could do about it. If she insisted on making things difficult for him, what if he complained to Seventh Sister or her husband? What should she do then? If that was the case, Lu Yu could not be bothered to think about it. Lu Yu stopped thinking about it and asked curiously, "Lin and Mo, do you know how to play basketball?" In her impression, Lin and Mo was focused on his studies. She had never seen him play basketball. "I know a little," Lin and Mo said with a smile. "A little. Up to you." Lu Yu did not want to discourage him, so she did not say anything else. Seeing Lu Yu's expression, Lin and Mo could not help but look forward to seeing Lu Yu's shocked expression when she saw his superb basketball skills. The morning classes passed very quickly. Just after lunch, there were already many students gathered around the basketball court. Most of them were from the finance department, and a few of them were from other departments. They had all heard that there was a basketball match and want to come and watch. Or more accurately, they were here to see the school hunk. Wang Howard was very popular in Qingling University, and he had a lot of fangirls. Among them, there were even fans of the school's most beautiful girl. Qin Yunhan and Su Mu Yan had both arrived early to get seats around the basketball court. When the two of them arrived, they immediately attracted the attention of many boys. As for Qin Yunhan and Su Mayan, they were already used to this kind of situation. Around them, there were even boys calling out their names in an attempt to attract their attention. Qin Yunhan and Su Muyan naturally did not respond. However, Qin Yunhan took this opportunity to compete with them. "Did you hear that?" More people are calling out my name. I'm more popular than you. Qin Yunhan said proudly to Su Muyin, who was sitting next to her. More people are looking at me. I'm more popular than you, Su Muyin retorted. TSK, the two of us will sit together. How do you know that they're looking at you and not me? Qin Yunhan pursed her lips. Because I'm older than you, Su Muyin whispered into Qin Yunhan's ear. With her personality, she wouldn't say such things under normal circumstances. However, when she was competing with Qin Yunhan, she couldn't help but say some shocking things. Qin Yunhan's face stiffened. She subconsciously glanced at Su Muyin's neck and gritted her teeth. In this aspect, she was indeed inferior to Su Muyin. Qin Yunhan wanted to use Mu Zhao Zhao, who had a foul figure, to attack Su Muyin, but she did not see her around the stadium. I'm 175 meters tall, taller than you. Qin Yunhan could only change her angle. I'm 168 meters tall, not short, Su Muyin said. He and I did that, you didn't, right? Qin Yunhan was a little anxious. She suddenly whispered in Su Muyin's ear. Su Muyin subconsciously froze for a moment before she reacted. She blushed and whispered contemptuously, Aren't you ashamed? Are you envious? Qin Yunhan whispered, That's funny. Who envies you? Su Muyin's tone was disdainful. However, she was disappointed. She told him before that she was ready, but he didn't do anything substantial for a long time. Su Muyin was worried. However, she was not shameless enough to take the initiative. Look, that girl is so beautiful. Wow, she's so beautiful. I'm going to faint. Who is she? I think she's from class 112 of the finance department. Her name is Yu Shiqing. Yu Shiqing? The ugly girl with a birthmark on her face. Ugly my ass. Now that she has no birthmark, look how beautiful she is. Why? If I knew that she was so beautiful without the birthmark, I would have pursued her. This year's freshmen are amazing. There's another campus bell. Around the stadium, there was a burst of heated discussion. For a moment, the eyes that were originally looking at Qin Yunhan and Su Muyin all turned away. Qin Yunhan and Su Muyin heard the noise and stopped quarreling for the time being. Both of them were curious as they followed the crowd's gaze and looked over. They saw a girl with a stunning appearance and figure slowly walking toward the stadium. However, unlike Qin Yunhan and Su Muyin, this girl seemed to feel extremely reserved in the face of so many gazes. She felt a little unsuitable and even lowered her head. Under the gaze of many people, the girl sat down a few meters away from Qin Yunhan and Su Muyin. Is her name Yu Shiqing? She's so beautiful. Su Muyin looked to the side and couldn't help but exclaim. Qin Yunhan nodded subconsciously and said mischievously, She stole our limelight. So what if she stole our limelight? It's not like she stole our boyfriend. Su Muyin didn't like being stared at by so many people. Naturally, she didn't care that her limelight was stolen. Don't jinx it. Don't be right. Qin Yunhan complained. What? Do you think he's the campus bell killer? That all the campus bell will fall for him? Impossible. Su Muyin seemed to have heard a joke. That's true. Qin Yunhan felt that it was very reasonable and responded in agreement. Although she felt that Wang Haoren was very charming, this guy already had 2 campus bell girlfriends. She didn't believe that he could get another one. Qin Yunhan and Su Muyin tilted their heads and couldn't help but look at Yu Shiqing again. A few meters away, Yu Shiqing seemed to feel it. She turned her head and made eye contact with the 2 girls. Yu Shiqing was stunned for a moment. She gave them a friendly smile and then looked at the court as if she was searching for a certain figure. This Yu Shiqing seems to be easy to get along with. Do you want to get to know her? Qin Yunhan suggested. If you want to go, then go. Su Muyin responded. Her personality wasn't as outgoing as Qin Yunhan. She rarely took the initiative to make friends. Qin Yunhan got up and walked over to Yu Shiqing. She chatted with her for a while. Then, Su Muyin saw that Qin Yunhan had called Yu Shiqing over. After Yu Shiqing sat down, she smiled at Su Muyin and greeted her. Su Muyin smiled back and exchanged names with her. It was a simple introduction. Hey, little sister, do you have a boyfriend? Qin Yunhan was more talkative. Seeing Yu Shiqing's gentle and pleasant appearance, she couldn't help but gossip. Yes, Yu Shiqing smiled and replied. Hearing this, Su Muyen's expression changed. She said to Qin Yunhan, "See, I didn't jinx it, did I?" Qin Yunhan smiled at her. Yu Shiqing had a boyfriend, so it was impossible for her to steal their man. This is a good thing. On the side, Yu Shiqing was a little confused. She didn't understand what she meant. Little sister, who is your boyfriend? Qin Yunhan continued to gossip. Chapter 399. Yu Shiqing used to have low self-esteem because of her birthmark. She had no friends at all, and no one was willing to play with her. Therefore, she was a bit of a loner and had low self-esteem. Although she had become prettier because of the disappearance of the birthmark, her loneliness and inferiority had lessened a lot. Perhaps it was because of habit, she still had some of this mentality. When she heard Qin Yunhan's words, Yu Shiqing didn't dare to answer truthfully. After all, Wang Haoren was the most popular person in Qingling University. She was afraid that if she told the truth, she would be laughed at for not being worthy of him. In this mood, Yu Shiqing said embarrassedly, "Can I keep it a secret?" "What's there to keep it a secret?" Qin Yunhan didn't understand her thoughts, but seeing that she didn't want to say, she didn't ask who it was. However, her gossipy heart didn't calm down, and she asked again, "Is it from outside the school? Inside the school? You can tell me, right?" "Inside." Yu Shiqing felt that there was no need to hide this, so she answered truthfully. "Is he handsome?" Qin Yunhan continued to ask. "Yes." Yu Shiqing smiled and said intoxicatedly, "He is the most handsome boy I have ever seen, and he has a very good heart. Even when I was ugly, he didn't dislike me." Hearing this, Qin Yunhan and Su Muyen looked at each other and felt that there must be a story behind it. As for Yu Shiqing saying that her boyfriend was handsome, it must be because beauty is in the eye of the beholder. After all, Yu Shiqing said that her boyfriend didn't dislike her when she was ugly. Imagine, if her boyfriend was really handsome, would he like her when she was ugly? This was definitely impossible. Qin Yunhan and Su Muyen guessed that Yu Shiqing's boyfriend should be ugly. Yu Shiqing might appreciate him when she was ugly, so they formed a deep friendship. Of course, the two of them wouldn't say that out loud because it was too impolite. "Do you have a boyfriend?" Yu Shiqing didn't know what the two of them were thinking, but seeing that they were chatting, she asked them curiously. "I have a boyfriend." Qin Yunhan rushed to respond. "Me too," Su Muyen replied. However, as the two of them were talking, they looked at each other, and there were faint sparks in their eyes. "You two are so beautiful. Your boyfriends must be very handsome, right?" Yu Shiqing had a good impression of the two, so she wanted to chat with them more. "Of course, my boyfriend is the most handsome man in the world." Qin Yunhan spoke first again. "My boyfriend is more handsome than her boyfriend." Su Muyen couldn't help but glare at her when she saw that she couldn't snatch him away every time. As for the fact that both of them had the same boyfriend, they had never told anyone about it. If word got out, people would think that the two of them were after Wang Haoren's money, so they were gossiping about him. Moreover, the two of them also wanted to save face. It was hard to find a three-legged toad in this world, but there were plenty of two-legged boys. They were so beautiful, but they had to stick together. If word of this got out, they would definitely be laughed at. Yu Shiqing didn't know what Qin Yunhan and Su Muyen were thinking. When she heard their words, she only thought that the two of them were showing off to each other. Yu Shiqing wanted to join the fun and say, "My boyfriend is the most handsome man." However, because of his personality, he would only think about it in his heart and would never say it out loud. "The people playing the basketball game are here." Qin Yunhan looked at the movement in the court and suddenly said. Su Muyen and Yu Shiqing both looked at the court. They saw a team of 5 wearing the same color basketball uniform coming to the basketball court. Yu Shiqing recognized the 4 boys in the team because they were in her class. However, the reason why she came here was not to cheer for the boys in her class. So many people. Lin Mo glanced around the court. When he saw the crowd, he was surprised and happy. The more people there were, the more recognition he would get when he showed his basketball skills. How could he not be happy? Aren't they the 2 campus belles, Qin Yunhan and Su Muyen? They are so beautiful. But who is the beauty next to them? How come I've never seen her before? When Lin Mo glanced around the crowd, His eyes were immediately attracted by the three beauties sitting together. After a few glances, he only felt that his adrenaline was crazily soaring. He couldn't wait to show off and receive the cheers of the three beauties. It seems that our class 112 is going to lose face. Next to him, a boy suddenly felt his scalp tingle when he saw so many people around them. Is it too late to back out now? Another boy's legs were trembling. Class 113 had invited the campus basketball team. When the game started, Class 112 would definitely be hung and beaten. Since we're here, let's take it as it comes. Class 113 may be shameless, but it's not like we don't have a chance to win. Cheer up. Lin Mo played the role of the backbone, comforting the four players and cheering them on. Lin Mo was much older and was a teacher. His words carried a lot of weight. After he said that, the four players forced themselves to show some fighting spirit. Those shameless guys are here. Another team member saw a few people in basketball uniforms walking over and immediately pointed at them angrily. That's not right. They don't look like the school's basketball team. And they're girls. What's going on? The others looked and immediately realized that something was wrong. When Lin Mo saw the team, his high spirits were suddenly extinguished. Isn't that Zhao Zhao? Why is she on the court? Qin Yunhan was stunned when she saw a figure in Class 113's basketball team. Jingjing too. Su Muyin was also stunned. The five-man team from Class 113 slowly walked into the court. I don't know how to play basketball. You can't blame me if I drag you down, Mu Zhaozhao said as she looked at Wang Haoran. She was already tired enough just carrying her two balls. How could she still play? I don't know how to play basketball either, Wen Jing said weakly. It's okay. If you weren't noobs, I wouldn't have let you on the court, Wang Haoran said with a smile. Lu Ming and Wei Zhihong's faces darkened. Soon, Wang Haoran led the five-man team to the court. Yo, this student seems a little old. Are you also a student of Class 112? Wang Haoran's gaze fell on Lin Mo, who was standing in the middle of a group of 18 or 19-year-old boys. He seemed a little out of place. We agreed on a class competition. Why are you calling yourselves outsiders? Can't afford to lose? Lu Ming shouted. We don't have enough boys. Even the girls are here to make up the numbers. You don't have enough people. What's the meaning of calling outsiders? Wei Zhihong also started to talk. The four boys from Class 112 looked at each other, then turned to look at Lin Mo. Lin Mo's expression was not very good. Chapter 400. The situation was completely out of Lin Mo's expectations. However, before Lin Mo could react, Lu Yu had already entered the court. Lu Yu was a little confused when she saw the people in Wang Haoran's team. She looked at Lin Mo when she realized what was going on. Didn't you say that Wang Haoran called the school team? Take a look for yourself. Is there anyone from the school team here? Lu Yu was a little displeased. I heard it from them. Lin Mo glanced at the four male students in Class 112. Teacher, we said that Lu Hua from Class 113 called the school team. One of the students corrected him. Yeah, teacher. Don't push the blame to us. Teacher, you have to be honest with your words. Wang Haoran was a big shot in the school. He was a super rich second-generation heir. Normal students like them could not afford to offend him. When they heard Lin Mo's words, they immediately clarified the matter to avoid being targeted by Wang Haoran. Lu Yu immediately deduced that Lin Mo was trying to smear Wang Haoran's reputation after hearing what the male students had said. You're an assistant teacher. How can you smear your student's reputation? Lu Yu said with a straight face. Lin Mo's face darkened when he was scolded in front of everyone. However, he could not find any reason to refute. It's my fault. However, the game still has to go on. Wang Haoran gave Lu Ming and Wei Zhihong a look. You're an assistant teacher. How can you be so shameless? We don't have enough people. We even let the girls play. How can you play with us? Lu Ming understood and immediately attacked him. I think he's just an old pervert. He saw that we have girls here and refused to leave. He wants to continue playing so that he can take advantage of the girls in our class. Wei Zhihong said disdainfully. Are we still playing the game? If not, let's disperse. We're the people from Class 112. Hurry up and send someone. Some of the people around them were getting impatient and started to urge them. I'll do it. I'll do it. A few male students from Class 112 walked to the court, wanting to take Lin Mo's place. Lin Mo was a little indignant and did not move for a while. Seeing this, Lu Yu couldn't help but say, "You can leave." Lin Mo had no choice but to leave the field dejectedly. Before she left, she couldn't help but take another look at Wang Haoran. Ding! The host did not play by the rules, causing Lin Mo to be unable to participate in the competition. Host has received 1,200 villain points. Lin Mo's protagonist aura -60. Host villain aura +60. Wang Haoran accepted the reward with satisfaction. When he heard Lu Hua say that there was going to be a basketball match, he guessed that the person who was going to show off was the teaching assistant, Lin Mo. Therefore, he chose not to ask for help from the school team and only sent out people from his class. His goal was naturally to prevent Lin Mo from entering the arena. As for the two girls, Mu Zhaozhao and Wen Jing, it was to increase the difficulty of the game and give him more room to perform. For the game, Wang Haoran spent more than 1,000 villain points to exchange for basketball skills. If it weren't for the rules, there would be 5 people on the field. Wang Haoran even wanted to take on all 5 of them at once. However, the rules couldn't be changed. Therefore, he chose to bring 2 rookies, 2 basketball newbies. After Class 112 replaced Lin Mo's position, the game began quickly. Mu Zhaozhao and Wen Jing hadn't even touched a basketball before. They were just running around on the court. Lu Ming and Wei Zhihong had played a lot of basketball, but they were still rookies. However, this didn't affect Wang Haoran's performance. Wang Haoran had basketball skills, and with 100 years of true qi strengthening his body, the 5 people from Class 112 were no match for him at all. When the opponent got the ball, it was snatched by Wang Haoran in less than 3 seconds. When the ball was in Wang Haoran's hands, it was bound to go in. The score was one-sided. This basketball match was completely Wang Haoran's performance. Around the basketball court, many of Wang Haoran's fangirls were cheering and cheering. The school beauty fans, Yu Shiqing, Qin Yunhan, and Su Muyan, stood up and clapped for Wang Haoran. Their little hands were red from clapping. Lin Mo was in the cheering crowd, expressionless, but his heart was full of jealousy. Ding! The host caused the protagonist Lin Mo to lose his composure. 800 villain points. Lin Missouri protagonist aura -40. Host villain aura +40. However, at this moment, on the field, the substitute for Lin Mo suddenly fell and got injured while running. The game was paused. Lu Yu went to take a look and saw that the boy's ankle was red and swollen. He seemed to have sprained his ankle and had difficulty walking, let alone playing basketball. However, there was still some time left in the first half of the game. Lu Yu asked a few students to send the boy who sprained his ankle to the infirmary. As for Class 112, they sent a substitute up. The game continued. However, in less than 2 minutes, the new substitute was also sent to the infirmary because of his injury. Class 112 sent another substitute to the field. Strangely, in less than a minute, the new substitute was sent out of the infirmary again. This time, Class 112 did not have a substitute. Whoever was the substitute would be sent to the infirmary. Who would dare to play? Wang Haoran frowned. He felt that this matter was not that simple. He turned his gaze and looked in Lin Mo's direction. He saw Lin Mo walking toward the field and stopping in front of Lu Yu, who was thinking about how to solve this problem. "Professor Lu, you have to finish what you started. No one from Class 112 is coming out to play, but the game still has to go on. Let me play," Lin Mo volunteered. "What if something similar happens again?" Lu Yu asked. "If I get injured too, then we'll cancel the game. What do you think?" Lin Mo said. Lu Yu did not respond immediately. Instead, she asked the remaining 4 members of Class 112 for their opinions. The 4 of them all expressed their approval of Lin Mo's words. After all, they were not the ones going to the infirmary. "Rest for a while, then we'll continue with the second half," Lu Yu said. Hearing this, Wang Haoran's doubts were all solved. What the F***CK? The protagonist's halo was so awesome that it ruined this guy's chance to play. This guy's protagonist's halo was activated, and he could create another opportunity to play. However, The three injured substitutes of Class 112 were really unlucky. After complaining for a while, Wang Haoran began to think of a way to deal with Lin and Mo. He was absolutely confident that he could win this basketball game. However, since Lin and Mo was willing to play basketball, his skills were definitely not simple. As long as Lin and Mo could play and show off his excellent basketball skills, he would be able to shock everyone and gain recognition, although this recognition might not be much. However, Wang Haoran did not want to let Lin and Mo have a taste of his own medicine. As Wang Haoran was thinking, he looked around and inadvertently saw the beautiful scenery around the basketball court. He sucked in a breath of cold air. Why were Qin Yunhan and Su Muyin playing with Yu Shiqing? Wang Haoran took out his phone and secretly sent a message to Yu Shiqing. Then, he left the court and went to the campus store to buy a bottle of water. Then, he went to a place with fewer people. Yu Shiqing was already waiting there. When she saw Wang Haoran, she could not help but jump for joy. "Have you told anyone that we are a couple?" Wang Haoran asked. "No. Didn't we agree that we would only announce it after I get used to it?" Yu Shiqing said. Yes. Wang Haoran nodded. Then, he was still a little worried and said, "Don't tell anyone that we are dating, okay?" "Why?" Yu Shiqing saw his serious expression and suddenly became curious. "There are many girls who like me. If they know that you are my girlfriend, they will definitely be jealous of you and keep causing trouble for you. I can't always be by your side in case you get hurt." Wang Haoran said seriously. "You are so thoughtful. I will keep that in mind." Yu Shiqing felt that Wang Haoran's words were very reasonable and could not help but nod heavily. After all, it would be strange if there were not many girls who liked Qingling. If others knew that she was dating him, she would definitely become a target of public criticism. Give this to assistant coach Lin and Mo. Tell him to thank him for being a substitute for Class 112. Seeing that Yu Shiqing was assured, Wang Haoran handed her a bottle of water. Chapter 401. On the court, the players were resting and preparing for the second half of the game. The four boys from Class 112 looked dejected and listless. After the first half of the game, they got a 0. How could they look good? Moreover, they had two girls who didn't know how to play basketball. This was equivalent to giving them a handicap. But even so, Class 112's fight was still so ugly. If it weren't for their sportsmanship, they would have surrendered. There's still the second half. We have a chance to win. Lin and Mo immediately comforted them. In the first half, he had seen Wang Haoran's skills and figured out his playing style. Lin and Mo thought that his level was not worse than his, although the current score was one-sided. However, Wang Haoran had brought two girls who didn't know how to play basketball at all. It would be good enough if they didn't cause trouble. In a 5-against-3 situation, Lin and Mo felt that his team still had a good chance of winning. Even if they unfortunately lost, they wouldn't lose too badly. The recognition they would get wouldn't be too little. No matter how Lin and Mo calculated, he would definitely make a profit. Yu Shiqing is walking over with a bottle of water. Who could it be for? In the team of Class 112, a boy noticed something and couldn't help but nudge the classmate next to him. "I touched the ball the most times and performed the best. It must be for me. Touching the ball is nothing. Did you score? That's funny. I think it's for me. After all, I didn't laugh at her when she had the birthmark on her face. Forget about it. I'm the most handsome. It must be for me." The boys started to argue. Lin and Mo heard the voice and couldn't help but look in the direction of Yu Shiqing. He saw her walking straight toward him. "Mr. Lin, thank you for your efforts for our class." Yu Shiqing said gratefully. "You're welcome." Lin and Mo was flattered and quickly responded with a wave of his hand. The four boys next to him were disappointed. "This bottle of water is for you. Do your best." Yu Shiqing encouraged him. "Class 112 will win. Just watch." Lin and Mo took the bottle of water excitedly, opened the cap, and drank half of it. As for the remaining half of the bottle, he treated it like a treasure, afraid that it would be snatched away. Yu Shiqing turned around and returned to her seat on the court. Lin and Mo and the four boys watched her leave. It was as if their souls had been taken away, and they could not come back to their senses for a long time. When Qin Yunhan and Su Muyin saw Yu Shiqing giving water to Lin and Mo, they couldn't help but look at each other in surprise. He suspected that Yu Shiqing's boyfriend was this teaching assistant Lin Mo. After all, the relationship between a teaching assistant and a student was sensitive. If word of this got out, it would inevitably cause a storm. Yu Shiqing didn't want to do that, so she kept it a secret. "Why are you all looking at me like that?" As soon as Yu Shiqing sat down, she noticed that Qin Yunhan and Su Muyin were looking at her suspiciously. Qin Yunhan and Su Muyin shook their heads, indicating that it was nothing. Since Yu Shiqing didn't want to say it, they didn't want to point it out either. Ding! The host manipulated behind the scenes, causing the protagonist Lin Mo to lose his manhood. Gained 2,000 villain points. Lin Mo's protagonist aura -100. Host villain aura +100. Wang Haoran came to the court slowly. Suddenly, he received a message. He smiled and looked at Lin Mo, who was not far away. He saw that Lin Mo was holding the remaining half of the bottle of water in his hand, treating it like a treasure. He still didn't know what had happened to him. Wang Haoran added 2 ingredients to the bottle of water. One was to make him lose his manhood, and the other was to prevent Lin Mo from showing off his skills and gaining recognition points. At this time, Lu Yu suddenly blew the whistle, signaling the team to get into position and get ready for the second half of the game. Both teams were ready to snatch the ball. However, at this time, Lin Mo frowned and held his lower abdomen. The ball was thrown high. Both teams could start snatching the ball. However, Lin Mo, who was standing at the front, didn't dare to jump. That was because he felt his stomach churning, as if something was trying to find an exit. He could stand it if he stood still, but if he moved too much, he felt like he couldn't hold it in. Oh! Lin Mo was stunned. In those few seconds, Wang Haoran scored, causing the fangirls around him to cheer. The 4 members of Class 112 couldn't help but look at Lin Mo. It was such a good opportunity. Lin Mo could have snatched the ball, but he didn't. His reaction was too slow. However, the second half had just begun. Moreover, Lin Mo was an assistant teacher. Although the 4 of them complained in their hearts, they didn't criticize Lin Mo. The game continued. Lin Mo moved like a turtle on the court. He was even slower than the 2 girls from Class 113. The ball went in one after another. Class 113's points were getting higher and higher. Class 112's score was still 0. Around the court, there was a burst of laughter. They had watched many school games, but this was the first time they saw a game like this. Sensing the commotion around them, the 4 boys from Class 112 wanted to find a hole to hide in. At the same time, they couldn't hold it in anymore. "Assistant Lin, are you here to play a game? Or are you taking a stroll?" "Oh my God, Assistant Lin, you said we would win. I almost believed you. What's there to play for? Why don't we just throw in?" The members of Class 112 took advantage of the gap between Wang Haoran's goal and started complaining to Lin Mo. Lin Mo's encouragement just now turned out to be a talkative person who only knew how to brag. As soon as he got on the court, he became a soft-footed shrimp and couldn't even move. Lin Mo's expression was ugly. He couldn't tell them the reason, so he just raised his hand at the referee, Lu Yu. Lu Yu signaled for the game to stop for now. She walked up to Lin Mo and noticed his strange expression. "What's wrong? Did you sprain your ankle too?" Lu Yu noticed that Lin Mo was behaving strangely when the substitutes asked questions one after another. Hence, she subconsciously asked him about it. "Yes," Lin Mo answered helplessly. His stomach was uncomfortable, but the game had already started. He couldn't ask for leave to squat. Therefore, he could only force himself to hold it in. He thought that the discomfort would pass quickly. But after a while, the discomfort didn't subside. Instead, it became more and more intense. He couldn't play this game anymore. He answered Lu Yu's question and wanted to leave the court as soon as possible. He had a feeling that he couldn't hold it in anymore. The substitutes of Class 112 were having problems one after another. Now, Lin Mo was acting up again. Lu Yu saw the situation and decided to end the game and declare Class 113 the winner. No one had any objections. After all, it was obvious that Class 112 couldn't win this game. Ding! Host controlled the game from behind the scenes and stopped the protagonist, Lin Mo, from showing off. Received 1,000 villain points. Lin Mo's protagonist aura -50. Host's villain aura +50. Lin Mo didn't care about the outcome. He only had one thought in his mind, and that was to find a hole to squat in. He clenched his fists and took small steps as he prepared to leave the court. Wang Haoren saw him like this and smiled mockingly. He whispered something to LV Ming beside him. LV Ming nodded and ran toward Lin Mo. Chapter 4:02. Lin Mo could feel his stomach rumbling. He tried his best to hold it in. His footsteps were very small, as he was afraid that he would vomit if he took too big a step. Just then, he heard running footsteps behind him. They were getting closer and closer. "Hey, teaching assistant Lin." Before Lin Mo could turn around to see who it was, he felt someone slap him hard on the butt. The thing that he had been trying so hard to hold and came pouring out. Even when LV Mingli sensed the stench, he subconsciously covered his nose. He had followed Wang Haoren's instructions and walked over to slap Lin Mo's butt. He did not expect this to happen. This Lin Mo is actually pooping. LV Mingli felt extremely disgusted. He quickly retreated a few meters to keep a distance from Lin Mo. Lin Mo had yet to leave the court. As the scene unfolded, many people looked over. Everyone immediately understood what was wrong with Lin Mo. No wonder Lin Mo moved so slowly on the court. His whole body seemed to be tense. It was because he was holding it in. The crowd burst into laughter. Some of the students with bad intentions even took out their phones to record the scene, wanting to preserve it. Ding! The host manipulated the main character, Lin Mo, to make a fool of himself in front of everyone. Obtained 1,100 villain points. Lin Mo's protagonist, Aura, -55. Host villain Aura, +55. Lin Mo was extremely embarrassed. He turned around and looked at LV Mingli angrily. He wanted to beat him up, but to avoid being laughed at, he could only pick up his pace and leave. As he jogged, the sound of puffing could be heard from his body. Wherever he passed, the students would cover their noses and scatter, hiding from him as if he was the plague. Finally, Lin Mo left the place amidst the laughter. After watching the game and the show, the people around the court gradually dispersed. It was almost time for class. The students were returning to their classrooms. Wang Haoren, Mu Zhaozhao, and Wen Jing were on the same road, so they walked together. On the way, "I didn't know you were so good at basketball, especially when he dribbles. He's simply too elegant and handsome," Mu Zhaozhao praised. "Your skills aren't bad either," Wang Haoren complimented. He even laughed at me. He said that I didn't know how to play and insisted that I play. Mu Zhaozhao's pretty face fell. On the court, she didn't contribute at all. She ran around and didn't even touch the basketball. "I'm not laughing at you. I truly think that you're amazing. You see, I can only dribble one ball at most, but you can dribble two. Of course, you're the best." Wang Haoren put on a serious look of praise. When Mu Zhaozhao heard this, she was stunned for a moment and did not react. When he heard Wen Jing covering her mouth and snickering, he suddenly came to his senses. "You're so annoying." Mu Zhaozhao's face was bright red. She reached out and patted Wang Haoren. Afternoon. Qingling Airport. Quick! More than 10 burly men in black suits rushed towards the airport exit. They stood side by side, and each of them had a serious look on their faces. When the surrounding tourists saw this scene, they subconsciously moved away in a hurry. They were very curious as to what kind of amazing person these people were welcoming. Not long after, at the airport exit, a man in a black trench coat walked out slowly. This man had a strong aura. His facial features were chiseled, and he looked very masculine. More than 10 burly men in black suits welcomed him. They opened the way for the man in the black trench coat to arrive in front of a Rolls-Royce. Soon, the Rolls-Royce started. Under the escort of luxury business cars in front and behind, it slowly drove away from the place. In the Rolls-Royce, "Brother Mu, we've found the person you asked us to investigate." A burly man in black passed some papers and photos to the man in the trench coat. This man in the trench coat was called Mu Bai. He was a big shot in the underworld. Mu Bai was expressionless. He ignored the words on the papers and looked at the photos. In the photos, there was a very beautiful girl. From the angle of the photos, she was nude. When Mu Bai saw the beautiful girl in the photos, An inexplicable expression appeared on his cold face. Although the girl's appearance had changed a lot, Mubai remembered her eyes deeply. At that time, the two of them were in the same class. Mubai was a schoolboy who did not study hard, and this girl was from a rich family. Mubai liked this girl very much. He was always pestering her. The rich girl was annoyed and told her parents. One day, when Mubai was on his way home, he was severely beaten up. He was also warned to stay away from this rich girl in the future. After that, Mubai left the school with hatred in his heart. After many years, Mubai became a big shot in the underworld. Now, he was back to find this rich girl. His goal was simple. That was to get her and fulfill his wish in the past. At the same time, he wanted to vent his anger. Where is she now? Mubai asked faintly. She's studying at Qingling Normal University. However, her family has fallen. She's no longer a rich girl. If Brother Mu wants to deal with her, it's very easy. The subordinate reported. Does she have a boyfriend? Mubai asked. No, the subordinate replied. After a pause, he added, however, she was quite close to a boy not long ago. They even took a walk in the school. Many students saw it. Who is this boy? Mubai's eyes flashed coldly. I don't know yet. The subordinate was frightened when he saw Mubai's expression. He replied in a trembling voice. I want to know within 3 hours. Mubai's voice was cold. Yes. The subordinate nodded respectfully. Mubai's eyes kept flashing coldly. She was his. He would not allow anyone to touch her. If anyone dared to touch her, he would kill that person. After all, this was nothing out of the ordinary for him. In the Chinese department building of Qingling Normal University, Gu Yuro was sitting in the classroom. The teacher was lecturing on the podium. However, she was absent-minded and could not listen to him at all. This Wang Haoran, we were talking well before. Why did he suddenly stop contacting me? Gu Yuro muttered to herself in her heart. She looked a little melancholic. Of course, she did not feel this way because she liked Wang Haoran. She disliked the feeling of being surrounded by handsome guys. However, if Wang Haoran did not contact her, what could she do? Should she take the initiative to contact him? Of course, this was impossible. Gu Yuro was very proud. She would rather die than be a lowly girl. After changing her mind, Gu Yuro secretly took out her phone and sent a message to her WeChat moments. The message was, "Happy birthday to myself. If he doesn't take the initiative to contact me after knowing my birthday, there's no need to know him. I'll just blacklist him." Gu Yuro thought to herself. Chapter 4:03. It was time for the afternoon class. Wang Haoran was listening to the class nonchalantly when he suddenly felt his phone vibrate. He took out his phone and saw that it was a notification from Gu Yuro's moments. The last time he chatted with Gu Yuro, Wang Haoran had added her as a friend. In order to know more about her movements, Wang Haoran opened Gu Yuro's moments. When Wang Haoran clicked open the circle of friends, he immediately saw the message that Gu Yuro had just posted. Gu Yuro's birthday. Wang Haoran caught such a message, but he only glanced at it indifferently. He did not intend to respond to it. Wang Haoran did not want to bother about Gu Yuro, the female lead of the show, if it was not necessary. Moreover, Gu Yuro's intention in posting this message was worth pondering. It was her birthday, and she deliberately posted this message on her moments with the intention of fishing. There must be many boys in Gu Yuro's moments. After the message was posted, there would be many boys who wished her well or sent her gifts. Wang Haoran did not want to join in the fun. It was her birthday. What did it have to do with him? He kept his phone. After a few seconds, his phone vibrated again. Wang Haoran frowned. He thought that Gu Yuro had posted another message on her moments, but when he opened it, he saw that it was a message from Xiao Wanwan. Someone came to Qingling University to inquire about Gu Yuro and even stole some photos. Xiao Wanwan pretended to be a graduate student and sneaked into Qingling University. She had been keeping an eye on Gu Yuro's movements. When she discovered something unusual, she immediately reported it to Wang Haoran. Do you know who this person is? Wang Haoran glanced at the message and quickly typed a reply. Xiao Wanwan replied, "You told me to keep an eye on Gu Yuro. I didn't dare to act rashly, so I didn't interrogate the person who followed her." Wang Haoran replied, "Continue to keep an eye on her. If there is anything special, report to me." After the chat ended, Wang Haoran started to think. Liu Beige, the supporting male lead, had a grudge against Guyuro. However, the fact that he was able to trick Guyuro into going to beige film and television proved that he knew Guyuro well. There was no need for him to find out about Guyuro. Guyuro was a special female lead. In order for her main storyline to proceed smoothly, she had to be forcefully pushed away from the start. After promoting Guyuro, the identity of this male character would change, and he would be promoted to the male lead. However, Lou Beige, the supporting male lead, did not have the ability to be a man, and it was impossible for him to replace Guyuro as the male lead. This supporting male lead was considered useless, and it was unlikely that he would have anything to do with Guyuro. If one had to say that there was a connection, then Lou Beige's role could only be that of a purely vengeful villain. No matter what, the person who inquired about Guyuro could not possibly be Lou Beige, but someone else. As for who it was, Wong Howren had no idea. However, he was certain that it was the male character who had triggered the main storyline. His identity was either a supporting male character or a male villain. Due to the uniqueness of Guyuro's halo, both the supporting male character and the male villain could be promoted to the male lead. Moreover, in female novels, there was also such a situation where the male villain could become the male lead. If he was not wrong, Guyuro's main storyline should be coming soon. In other words, if he did not stop it, Guyuro might be pushed away. As the villain, Wong Howren did not want to see Guyuro, the female lead, having sex with a male lead. This matter had to be stirred up. Moreover, by stopping Guyuro's main storyline, he could obtain reward points. It was killing two birds with one stone. With this thought in mind, Wong Howren started to edit his message. "Happy birthday. Are you free tonight? I'll treat you to a meal." After editing the message, he sent it to Guyuro. Wong Howren waited for a reply. 1 minute, 2 minutes, 30 minutes passed. Guyuro replied, "I just had something to do. You want to treat me to a meal? I'm afraid I can't. I've already made plans with my classmates. Just had something to do. Are you busy replying to other guys' messages, or are you deliberately ignoring me?" Wong Howren complained in his heart before he started to edit his message. "What about after dinner? You should be free, right? I'll treat you to a movie." "After dinner, I still have to play with my classmates. It'll be very late," Guyuro replied. "So you're not free tonight?" Wong Howren asked. "You can come to my birthday party," Guyuro replied. Wong Howren replied, "That's not convenient. I don't know your classmates. It'll be awkward if I go." Guyuro replied, "What's not convenient about it? You can come. The more the merrier." "Merrier? You just wanted to kiss you in front of so many people to satisfy your vanity, don't you?" Wong Howren could not help criticizing her in his heart. However, considering that he had to stop Guyuro's main storyline, he could only endure it and join the fun. "All right, send me the address," Wong Howren replied. "The location hasn't been decided yet. I'll let you know when it's decided. Oh yes, you don't have to buy any gifts. You can just come," Guyuro replied. Wong Howren had a strange expression on his face. She specifically mentioned not to bring any gifts. Was she not being sarcastic? In a luxurious mansion, Mubai was swimming in the pool. As his body moved up and down on the surface of the water, the lines of his muscles looked extremely charming. If there was a love-struck woman here, she would definitely be elated. One of his subordinates returned from outside and reported here, "Brother Mu, I've found out. The boy who is close to Guyuro is a rich second-generation heir. His name is Wong Howren. He's the young master of the Wong group." Mubai swam to the side of the pool and walked out. One of his men handed him a towel respectfully. After wiping the water off his body, Mubai said, "So he's a rich second-generation heir. The Wong group, right? I heard that it's worth tens of billions, but it's nothing." His tone was slightly disdainful. He was the king of the underworld and had many people working for him. He was not afraid of the rich at all. "Brother Mu, it's Guyuro's birthday today. She'll be having a gathering with her classmates," the man reported. "Birthday, is it? That's great. I'll send her a gift." Mubai revealed a thought-provoking smile. "What gift do you need?" the man asked. "The gift is with me. There's no need to prepare it." Mubai smiled evilly. When a man saw this, he couldn't help but feel puzzled. Mubai only had a towel with him. He couldn't possibly give her a towel, could he? However, on second thought, he seemed to have understood something. Brother Mu was going to give Gu Yuro hundreds of millions. In the evening, Wang Haoren received the location from Gu Yuro. He found out that the location of Gu Yuro's birthday party was in a restaurant near Qingling Normal University. Wang Haoren drove out in his Pagani. This Pagani was Lin Chen's car in the past. However, after Lin Chen's death, this car had been left in the garage. The day after Biansuan and Wang Haoren's sweet moment, she decided to give this car to Wang Haoren. After all, she had asked Wang Haoren for help previously, and he had lost a Bugatti because of it. Now that she gave the Pagani to Wang Haoren, it could be considered as repaying her debt. Chapter 404. Wang Haoren drove the Pagani to the restaurant that Gu Yuro mentioned. After parking the car, he went to the designated private room. At that moment, there were already some men and women gathered in the private room. A few men had prepared gifts for Gu Yuro. When Wang Haoren walked in, everyone looked at him. The eyes of the girls lit up, and they were infatuated. The boys, on the other hand, looked displeased. "You're here." Gu Yuro was holding many gifts in her hands as she smiled at Wang Haoren. However, she soon noticed that Wang Haoren was empty-handed. Displeasure flashed across her eyes. He really did not bring any gifts. Wang Haoren saw the slight change in Gu Yuro's expression and found it funny. She was the one who said not to bring any gifts. Now that he had come empty-handed, she was unhappy. Women were creatures who did not mean what they said. However, Wang Haoren was not here to please Gu Yuro. He just wanted to see if the male character who triggered Gu Yuro's main plot was here. But after looking around the room, she didn't see a single handsome guy. Wang Haoren was disappointed. In female novels, not to mention supporting male characters and male villains, even a slightly more important male character would be a handsome guy. None of the men in front of him were good-looking. They were all trash that could be ignored. "Yuro, is this your boyfriend? He's so handsome," a girl said to Gu Yuro enviously after stealing a glance at Wang Haoren. "Don't misunderstand. We're just ordinary friends." Gu Yuro's tone was indifferent as she quickly distanced herself from him. From her point of view, Wang Haoren did not even bring a gift. He obviously did not care about her. Gu Yuro was unhappy and did not want to bother about Wang Haoren for the time being. Wang Haoren did not know anyone here except for Gu Yuro. Gu Yuro did not talk to him, and Wang Haoren appeared lonely. After Gu Yuro chatted with her classmates for a while, almost everyone had arrived. He pressed the bell in the private room and called the waiter over to take their order. Not long after, the door to the private room was suddenly pushed open. However, the person who walked in was not a waiter, but a tall and handsome man with a cold face. Wow, so handsome. Many of the girls in the private room immediately revealed infatuated looks. Wang Haoren couldn't help but narrow his eyes. The person he had been waiting for had finally appeared. "You are?" Gu Yuro was confused when she saw the unfamiliar man. The man took a good look at Gu Yuro. The scene of him being beaten up that year appeared in his mind, and hatred rose in his heart. But on the surface, he concealed it very well. "Don't you recognize me?" The man replied to Gu Yuro. "I'm sorry, may I know who you are?" Gu Yuro could not remember this person. "Mu Bai," the man replied. Upon hearing this, Gu Yuro seemed to have thought of something, and a look of panic and surprise appeared on her face. Panic because he had harassed her in high school, and her father had gotten someone to beat him up. After that, he had been chased out of the school. It could be said that there was some enmity between them. She was surprised because she felt that Mu Bai had changed a lot. Back then, he was completely non-mainstream, and his hair often covered half of his face. Now that he had cut his hair short, he looked clean and neat. His facial features and outline were very delicate and charming. "Why? Am I not welcome?" Mu Bai asked when Gu Yuro did not speak for a long time. "Please take a seat." Gu Yuro did not know why Mu Bai was looking for her, but seeing that he was so handsome, she still said politely. Wang Haoren stood by the side and kept looking at Mu Bai. Although he was not sure what happened between Mu Bai and Gu Yuro, he used his X-ray vision and saw Mu Bai's abnormality. Mu Bai was just looking at Gu Yuro, and his brother actually stood up. Wang Haoren was speechless. At the same time, he felt that there was a trap. If he guessed correctly, Mu Bai and Liu Bei should have the same idea. They wanted to push Gu Yuro and they wanted to push her forcefully. As for whether Mu Bai was the supporting male or the antagonist, this was secondary. This was because with a push, Mu Bai could be promoted to the male lead. No matter what enmity Mu Bai had with Gu Yuro in the past, after pushing her, no matter how big the enmity was, he would become a loyal bootlicker. In the future, he would not care about other women and would only like Gu Yuro. I don't like the way you look at me. Mu Bai was about to sit down when he felt that Wang Haoran was looking at him. He was unhappy and reminded him with a warning. When Wang Haoran heard this, he immediately felt a little amused. Was the supporting male lead in the female genre so tall? He was not a woman. Could he not look at him? I don't like the way you speak, Wang Haoran replied. Do you want to die? Mu Bai's eyes flashed coldly. Wang Haoran frowned and stood up. Let's talk nicely. Don't fight. Gu Yuro saw that the situation was not right. She quickly walked between the two of them and tried to stop them. The girls around them were envious. They felt that these two handsome men were jealous of Gu Yuro. I'll let you off for now. Mu Bai was here for Gu Yuro. He had not finished his business and did not want to complicate matters. He planned to deal with this person after this. Wang Haoran was not a talkative person. He did not want to bicker with him and was too lazy to respond. However, he had made up his mind to kill Mu Bai. Wang Haoran, have a seat. Mu Bai, sit here, Gu Yuro said to her left and right, planning to use herself to separate the two of them. When Wang Haoran heard this, he felt strange. Why did he inexplicably get involved in the female genre plot to set off Gu Yuro? His name is Wang Haoran? Mu Bai's expression changed when he heard what Gu Yuro said. Yes, is there a problem? Gu Yuro was puzzled. No problem. Mu Bai smiled meaningfully. At this moment, the waiter who had been summoned came over. Gu Yuro ordered the dishes and asked Wang Haoran and Mu Bai what they wanted to eat. She did not neglect anyone. Wang Haoran was not surprised by her actions. After all, she was the female lead. This was completely normal. Of course, this did not mean that Gu Yuro, the female lead, was a bitch. It was just the plot. Before the male lead was decided, she was wavering and her mind was drifting. If the male lead was decided, Gu Yuro would definitely stand firmly on his side. However, to become the male lead in Gu Yuro's plot, the condition was special. He had to push her, even if he had to force her. As for whether Gu Yuro would call the police, he was not worried at all. The beginning of Gu Yuro's plot started when she was pushed. As a result, there was a strange setting for this type of female protagonist. That was, no matter how she was bullied, she would not call the police. As she was continuously bullied, she would gradually fall in love with this person. To put it bluntly, she was a masochist. However, it was normal for female novels to abuse the main character. Some female readers loved to read masochistic novels. The more masochistic the novel was, the more interested they would be in it. Then can I use this special setting to do something? A surprising idea suddenly appeared in Wang Haoran's mind. Gu Yuro's plot armor was very strong. It was 5,800 points, higher than Yin Yuntian's initial plot armor. Liu Beige had lost his ability and could not trigger the plot. Gu Yuro's plot armor had activated, and she had attracted Mu Bai so quickly. Although he could easily send Mu Bai to his death, what would happen after that? There would be a second, third, and countless Mu Bais coming. By then, wouldn't he be annoyed to death? However, if he directly triggered Gu Yuro's plot armor, Gu Yuro would definitely change her position. Then, Gu Yuro would definitely move to the right position and stand on the right side. In the future, she would not be distracted and would become loyal. After that, would Gu Yuro not attract people who would push her? Of course, the plot armor that Wang Haoran was thinking of was faking it. If he really pushed her, he would become the male lead, bootlicker. However, he was not sure if it would work. Nevertheless, with the intention of gaining knowledge through practice, Wang Haoran decided to give it a try. He would not lose anything anyway. Moreover, he had used this kind of fake operation on Yun Charn before, and he was very experienced. It would not be a problem to deceive Gu Yuro. Moreover, he still had a lot of medicine left from the medicine that he had prepared to deceive Yun Charn. He could easily fake another crime scene. As for whether he could pretend to be the male lead of the female lead, it was all up to fate. After the dishes were served, Everyone started to eat. Gu Yuro drank a lot of drinks. Halfway through the meal, she suddenly had to leave the room. The moment she left, Mu Bai followed her out. Wang Howren immediately got up from his seat and followed him from a distance. He used his X-ray vision to see that Mu Bai was extremely excited. Obviously, he could not wait to do something to Gu Yuro. Chapter 405. After Gu Yuro left the room, she went to the same floor to look for the washroom. However, she realized that the washroom on this floor was out of service due to maintenance. She had no choice but to go upstairs and try to find the washroom. There were also restaurant rooms upstairs, but they were all empty. Perhaps it was because the business was bad that there was not a single customer on this floor. Wang Howren followed behind her and saw this scene with his X-ray vision. He was amazed by the magic of Gu Yuro's protagonist aura. Mu Bai followed her with evil intentions, and there was no one on this floor. Wasn't this the same as creating the conditions for Gu Yuro's plot to be triggered? While Wang Howren was thinking, Gu Yuro quickly found the washroom and went in to relieve herself. Mu Bai stood at the door of the washroom and waited. He smiled evilly and was ready to give Gu Yuro a birthday present. However, before Gu Yuro came out, Mu Bai suddenly felt pain in his neck and fell to the ground. Ding! The host fainted the male villain Mu Bai and prevented the female protagonist Gu Yuro's plot from being triggered. Obtained 1,800 villain points. Gu Yuro's protagonist aura -90. Host villain aura +90. Wang Howren dragged Mu Bai, who had fainted, to an empty room. Then, he started to kick Mu Bai's body. Ding! The host used violence and caused the male villain Mu Bai to lose his manhood. Obtained 1,000 villain points. Wang Howren felt much better. In fact, if it was not the wrong time, he actually wanted to kill Mu Bai. However, in order to avoid unnecessary consequences, he restrained himself and only gave him a light punishment. At this moment, Gu Yuro came out of the washroom slowly. Wang Howren appeared and stopped her at the corridor. "Du, why are you here?" Gu Yuro was shocked. Soon, she noticed Wang Howren's evil smile and became alert. "What do you want? Are you unhappy that I didn't bring a present?" Wang Howren asked. "No, I didn't. I told you not to bring a present. Why would I be angry?" Gu Yuro shook her head against her will. Wang Howren continued. "Is that so? Then why did you ignore me just now?" "No, you've misunderstood," Gu Yuro said sincerely. "I thought about it and decided to give you a gift. Come with me." Wang Howren walked to the door of another empty room and waved at Gu Yuro. Gu Yuro did not have cerebral palsy, so why would she believe such words? However, she still nodded on the surface and walked toward the door. When she reached the door, she suddenly quickened her pace and wanted to escape. Wang Howren reacted quickly and grabbed her arm. He brought her into the private room and closed the door tightly. "Yu, what do you want to do?" Gu Yuro panicked and retreated until she reached the corner of the wall. "A present for you." Wang Howren smiled wickedly and walked towards her. Gu Yuro wanted to shout for help, but her mouth was covered by a hand, and she could not make a sound. Immediately, a handsome face with a devilish smile enlarged in Gu Yuro's eyes. However, before she could feel anything, she suddenly felt dizzy. He fainted. The devilish smile on Wang Howren's face disappeared, and his expression was cold. He started to fake the crime scene. It took about 5 minutes for the job to be completed. Wang Howren wanted to wake Gu Yuro up, but he quickly realized that 5 minutes was too short. What if Gu Yuro woke up and laughed at him? Of course, she might not say it, but she would definitely have this thought in her heart. With this thought in mind, Wang Howren sat on the stool in the private room and contacted Su Muyin to play King of Glory. They played for about an hour before they stopped. After putting away his phone, Wang Howren poured a cup of cold water from the water dispenser in the private room and splashed it on Gu Yuro's face. Gu Yuro, who had lost consciousness, was awakened by the cold water. She slowly woke up and tried to sit up. A burning sensation came, and Gu Yuro frowned. She almost cried out in pain. Gu Yuro was completely awake and realized what had happened. She raised her eyes and looked at Wang Howren, who was sitting in front of her with a smug look on his face. "Are you satisfied with the gift?" Wang Howren revealed his devilish smile again and asked her. Gu Yuro was not a child and she instantly understood what he meant. You're not human. You're a bastard, a scumbag. Guyuro's face was filled with anger as she scolded Wang Haoran. She used all the scolding words she knew as if she wanted to scold Wang Haoran to death. Wang Haoran frowned. After all, he had faked it and not really pushed her. Would Guyuro call the police? However, at this moment, ding, the host has successfully impersonated the male lead of the female channel and has greatly affected the direction of the plot. The reward is 3,200 villain points. Guyuro's protagonist aura minus 160. The host villain aura plus 160. Ding! The female lead Guyuro's favorability towards the host has increased by 30. The current favorability is 50. Admiration. After receiving the two system notifications, Wang Haoran was first pleasantly surprised and then dumbfounded. He was pleasantly surprised because he had successfully impersonated the male lead and received a very handsome reward. The reason he was dumbfounded was because Guyuro's favorability towards him had increased. If an ordinary girl encountered such a situation, even if she killed the boy, she might not be able to relieve the hatred in her heart. What the hell was this Guyuro? She had actually increased her favorability towards him by so much. This was ridiculous. Wang Haoran complained in his heart. However, he quickly recalled that Guyuro's main plot was originally very sadistic. Guyuro's character was special. Simply put, she liked to be abused. Thinking about it, the increase in her favorability seemed to make sense. This was because if Guyuro's favorability had not increased, she would definitely have called the police when she encountered such a situation. Then, if the male lead was arrested, how could the plot continue? Wouldn't it just end the plot directly? Buzz, buzz. Guyuro scolded Wang Haoran to vent her feelings. Suddenly, her phone vibrated. She looked at the caller ID and saw that it was from a female classmate. Hello. Guyuro calmed herself down and answered the call. Yuro, why did you only answer the call after such a long time? Didn't you go to the washroom? Why did you take so long? Did something happen? The female classmate asked hurriedly. No, I'm fine. I'll be back soon. Guyuro did not mention anything about being bullied. Wang Haoran, who was standing aside, was not surprised at all. Although Guyuro was scolding him on the surface, there were changes in her heart. Perhaps she did not even know that she had fallen in love with the boy who bullied her. When the female classmate asked her about it, her subconscious told her not to tell anyone about it. Hence, she answered as such. After that, Guyuro hung up the call with the female classmate. She stood up with difficulty and prepared to return to the private room. Keep this a secret or you'll be in trouble. Wang Haoran scared her just in case. Guyuro looked at him with mixed feelings. He was a rich second-generation heir, and his family was so rich. She was just a rich girl whose family had declined. She had no money and no power. How could she win against him? She could only admit that she was unlucky. Chapter 406. After the matter was settled, Wang Haoran left the restaurant directly. In the private room, the students were almost done with their meal. When Guyuro returned, a few of her close female classmates asked her what she had been doing out of concern. Guyuro lied that she had met an old acquaintance and they had chatted for a long time before she was delayed. Hearing this, the students did not think much of it. The female classmate realized that Mu Bai and Wang Haoran had disappeared, so she couldn't help but ask Guyuro, "The two handsome men followed you out one after another. Where are they?" "I don't know." Guyuro shook her head, pretending to be ignorant. She knew what Wang Haoran had gone to do. However, she had no idea where Mu Bai had gone. Nevertheless, she was not concerned about where Mu Bai had gone. Her mind was filled with Wang Haoran's evil smile before he bullied her. She had a feeling that she could not get rid of, and she could not fit any other boys into her mind. After the meal, according to the original plan, they would have gone to the KTV to sing. However, Guyuro's mind was in a mess, and she was not in the mood. Therefore, she lied that her head hurt and expressed her unwillingness to go. If the birthday girl did not go, it would be meaningless for others to go as well. The activities after they were canceled. Guyuro and the female classmate left the restaurant and returned to the dormitory. "Who sneaked an attack on me from behind?" In the private room on the empty floor, Mu Bai touched his sore neck and woke up in a daze. He gradually regained consciousness. Soon, he felt extreme pain somewhere on his body. Mu Bai was filled with anger, but at this moment, the most important thing was not to find the attacker, but to go to the hospital. It was difficult for him to even move. He could only call his subordinates and ask them to come and pick him up. After the call was made, his subordinates rushed over and sent Mu Bai to a hospital. After the examination, the doctor made a judgment. Mu Bai's brother had suffered a heavy physical attack that caused irreversible damage and was completely disabled. One of Mu Bai's close subordinates was shocked when he heard this. Didn't Brother Mu give a few 100 million yuan to someone? Why did he let someone disable the tool used to deliver the gift? However, he did not dare to ask this question. A burst of anger rose in Mu Bai's heart. He ordered his subordinates, go to that restaurant. Go to that restaurant and investigate. I want to know who attacked it. With his status, even if he was killed, he would not choose to call the police. Therefore, he planned to use his own method to solve this matter. It was close to midnight, deep in an unknown mountain. Master, why are you chasing me away? In a simple and crude house, Tantai Yao Yu stood quietly, asking a 30-year-old man with a blank expression. I've already taught you all the ancient martial arts. Now that you've mastered them, it's time to go down the mountain, the man said slowly in a mature tone. But it's already so late. I want to leave tomorrow morning. Tantai Yao Yu had heard her master mention this matter a long time ago. She had left the mountain after learning the skill, so she had already made preparations. But now that it was almost midnight, her master suddenly asked her to go down the mountain, which made her very puzzled. You won't even listen to your master's words? The man's tone was slightly hurried and serious. Tantai Yao Yu respected her master and thus did not dare to disobey. She said helplessly, Then master, farewell. I'll go down the mountain now. After speaking, she slowly left the simple and crude house. Tantai Yao Yu had stayed here for 3 years and was somewhat reluctant to leave. But since her master said so, she could only go down the mountain. After adjusting her mood, Tantai Yao Yu began to think about where to go. The next moment, her eyes lit up. Clearly, she had thought of something. 3 years. I wonder how my sisters and little Chun are doing, Tantai Yao Yu muttered to herself. She raised her gaze and looked at the night sky. The moonlight was dim and the surroundings were dark. The path deep in the mountains was very steep and winding. If it was a normal person going down the mountain at night, they would definitely die here. However, Tantai Yao Yu practiced ancient martial arts. With the moonlight, it was enough to see the path. To her, it was no different from daytime. Jumping up, Tantai Yao Yu had already appeared on a tree far away. She lightly stepped on a leaf and stepped on it. The leaf did not move, but Tantai Yao Yu's figure appeared hundreds of meters away, blending into the night. In the next moment, a crazy shout rang out from the shabby house. Ah! 10 years. 10 years. I'm finally free. In the house, the 30-year-old man did not have the aura of an expert that he had when facing Tantai Yao Yu. Like a Chinibyu, he danced on the spot, extremely excited. This man was called Qin Fan. He was a transmigrator and had a transmigrator's golden finger. His golden finger was called the apprentice system. From the start, the system gave him countless mysterious abilities. However, before Qin Fan had time to be happy, the system gave him a mission. The mission was for him to teach 99 powerful apprentices that could influence the world. The time limit was 10 years. If he could not complete it, he would be erased by the system. Qin Fan was helpless and could only teach his apprentices. Although he was trapped in the mountains, every once in a while, there would be outsiders who mistakenly entered here. Qin Fan had countless abilities. When he showed them a bit of his abilities, they would naturally be stunned and impatiently take him as their master. Among these apprentices, some learned divine-level medical skills and became peerless doctors. Some learned physiognomy and became masters of physiognomy. Some learned how to make money and became the richest person in a region. Some learned assassination skills and became world-class assassins. Among these skills, ancient martial arts were the most profound and difficult to learn. What Tantai Yao Yu learned was ancient martial arts. Calculating the time, today was exactly the time limit of 10 years. Tantai Yaoyu's ancient martial arts had reached large success, and Qin Fan's mission was completed. Naturally, he had to urge her to leave as soon as possible. Otherwise, once midnight passed, the mission would be considered a failure. However, Qin Fan had just received a system notification, mission completed. In other words, he was now free and could leave this mountain. Damn, I was too anxious just now and forgot to ask where Yaoyu went. After Qin Fan was excited for a while, he could not help but slap his thigh in regret. Among the 99 apprentices that Qin Fan taught, there were many female apprentices. Among them, there was no lack of devastatingly beautiful women. Tantai Yaoyu was one of them. Moreover, Tantai Yaoyu was very outstanding among these devastatingly beautiful women. She could be said to be a peerless calamity. In ancient times, she could mesmerize kings and easily destroy a dynasty. When teaching these beautiful apprentices, Qin Fan's mind was often restless. However, the system had restrictions. During the mission period, Qin Fan had to maintain his role as a master and could not do anything beyond that. He couldn't even touch his beautiful disciple's finger. This made Qin Fan feel extremely stifled. Now that the mission was completed, all restrictions were lifted. Qin Fan could do as he pleased. Qin Fan loved Tantai Yaoyu the most. After the restrictions were lifted, he naturally wanted to get closer to her. However, in his hurry, he only wanted to urge her to quickly leave the mountain and complete the mission as soon as possible. He did not ask where she was going. Forget it. There will be a chance to meet. After being depressed for a while, Qin Fan's mood began to improve. After 10 years, it was time for him to be free and unfettered. Qin Fan was full of expectations and was so excited that he did not sleep the entire night. Chapter 407. The next morning, Qin Fan burned down all the houses on the mountain. He had made up his mind to never return to this godforsaken place again. Soon, he arrived at the foot of the mountain. In his field of vision, an elderly man was walking back and forth at the foot of the mountain with a silly young man. The elderly man looked in the direction of the mountain and seemed to be hesitating if he should go up directly. Just then, he saw Qin Fan appear. "Master!" The elderly man ran over excitedly and knelt down in front of Qin Fan. "Xiao Xiao." Qin Fan recognized the elderly man. The elderly man was Qin Fan's first disciple, and he had learned medical skills. After so many years, he had become a peerless doctor. "Yifeng, quickly come over and pay your respects to your grandmaster." The old man, surnamed Xiao, waved his hand at the foolish man. However, the silly young man did not understand what he meant. He looked at the butterflies flying to him with a silly smile and said, "Fly, fly, fly." He was completely immersed in his own world. Qin Fan saw this and looked at the elderly man in confusion. "This is my disciple, Xiao Yifeng. A few months ago, he went to protect a rich family's daughter. However, he was harmed by someone and his face was disfigured. His brain was damaged and he became a fool. I can't save him and I want to ask for your help, Master," Elder Xiao explained. Qin Fan's figure flashed and arrived in front of Xiao Yifeng. After checking his pulse, his brows could not help but furrow slightly. "Master," Elder Xiao panicked when he saw Qin Fan's expression. "It's not that I can't save him. I just need some rare herbs," Qin Fan said. Elder Xiao was overjoyed and quickly asked what the herbs were. Qin Fan told him one by one and said, "After you find all the herbs, bring him to me. I'll save him personally." Elder Xiao was in a dilemma when he heard the names of the herbs. However, he did not want to give up. "Thank you, Master." Elder Xiao bowed respectfully and asked, "After I find all the herbs, where can I find you, Master?" Qin Fan used to stay in the mountains, and it was easy to find him. However, now that he was leaving, Elder Xiao had to ask, "I plan to go to Qingling first. After you find the herbs, go to Qingling to find me. If I'm not in Qingling, go and look for someone called Ma Hongsheng. I'll give him my contact information in advance." Ma Hongsheng studied the art of wealth and was one of Qin Fan's disciples. Qin Fan did not have a single cent on him. After entering the secular world, money was definitely not something that could be lacking. Half a year ago, Qin Fan received the news from Ma Hongsheng. Ma Hongsheng was now the richest man in Qingling, with over 100 billion in assets. Therefore, Qin Fan wanted to look for his disciple, Ma Hongsheng, to get a few hundred million to spend. Qingling, is it? This disciple will remember. After hearing Qin Fan's words, the expression of the old man with the surname Xiao changed, and he hurriedly responded. He was no stranger to Qingling, because he had found Xiao Yifeng in the midst of Qingling's beggars. And Xiao Yifeng's accident was most likely in Qingling. In the morning. Today was a holiday, so Wang Haoren didn't have to go to school. He was still sleeping soundly. Of course, as a person who had a strong sense of time, he shouldn't be sleeping at this hour. Moreover, he had 100 years' worth of true qi, and his mental strength was many times that of an ordinary person. He only needed to rest for 1 or 2 hours a day. The reason why he was sleeping now was because he was tired from the previous night. Bian was in high spirits, as it was the first time she had tasted something new. Wang Haoren was called out by Bian last night. He didn't sleep for the entire night, and only returned to the villa this morning. Since he didn't have to go to school today and had nothing special to do, he planned to catch up on some sleep. However, just as he closed his eyes and dozed off for a while, someone knocked on the door. Haoren, are you awake? I have something to tell you. After the knock, Feng Xuanzu's voice was heard. What is it? Wang Haoren was a little depressed as he asked. Can I come in? As she spoke, Feng Xuanzu had already pushed the door open and entered. Wang Haoren was speechless. You're already in, and you're still asking such a question? After Feng Xuanzu walked into the bedroom, she didn't speak immediately. Her eyes were filled with splendor as she kept sizing up Wang Haoren. Wang Haoren pulled the blanket up a little, only revealing his head, and asked repeatedly, What's the matter? Feng Xuanzu saw this and felt a little resentful. Then, she said Sister Rao invited me to dinner and asked me to go to the mansion. I want to bring you along. It's not convenient. Why should I go? Wang Haoren felt a headache when he thought of Feng Rao. He wasn't willing to go. What's not convenient about it? Come on, let's go. Feng Xuanzu acted like a little girl and acted coquettishly. If they were in front of others, she wouldn't act like this. However, there was no one else here except her and her husband. Naturally, she didn't have to worry so much. Seeing Feng Xuanzu acting coquettishly, Wang Haoren's heart was about to melt. He immediately wanted to agree. However, when he was about to say it, he had some concerns. Do you want to bring me along, or did your sister Feng Rao suggest it? Wang Haoren knew that Feng Xuanzu treated him as her husband. Feng Rao was half a family member of Feng Xuanzu. It was reasonable for Feng Xuanzu to bring him to meet her family. However, if it was Feng Rao who suggested it, Wang Haoren was a little panicked. I want you to bring me along. Sister Rao also urged me to bring you along. Feng Xuanzu replied. Repeated reminders. Hearing this word from Feng Xuanzu, Wang Haoren secretly took a deep breath. In fact, after leaving the hospital that day, Feng Rao sent many messages to invite Wang Haoren to go out and meet her. However, Wang Haoren found reasons to reject all of them. Feng Rao asked Feng Xuanzu to have dinner and specially suggested to bring him along. She must have ulterior motives. Wang Haoren knew that he couldn't defeat Feng Rao now. If Feng Rao lost her mind and became unreasonable, wouldn't he be? Wang Haoren felt a chill down his spine just thinking about it. When it came to Feng Rao, he still adhered to one principle, which was to only ignite the fire and not extinguish the fire. Come with me, okay? Feng Xuanzu saw Wang Haoren's hesitation, so she walked forward and shook Wang Haoren's arm, acting coquettishly again. Wang Haoren felt a little overwhelmed and wanted to go with Feng Xuanzu. However, before that, he wanted to find out something. You go out first. I'll tell you if you want to go or not after I get dressed. Hearing this, Feng Xuanzu looked at Wang Haoren with resentment, but she didn't refute anything. She quietly left the bedroom and closed the door. Wang Haoren took out his phone and dialed a number. Yuning, is Yin Yuntian in the hospital or the mansion? Young master, little fairy Dr. Bian Suan treated him. Yin Feiping felt that it was unnecessary to let Yin Yuntian stay in the hospital. In order to take care of him more conveniently, he has already brought Yin Yuntian back to the mansion, Yuning replied. What about Yin Shuren? Wang Howard asked. She's also in the mansion. However, she's in a trance all day long and is a little strange, Yuning said. After Wang Howard heard this, he couldn't help but smile inexplicably. Calculating the time, the medicine that he gave Yin Shuren to induce morning sickness and fake pregnancy pulse had already taken effect. After Yin Yuntian was dealt a blow last time, his condition had improved a lot these days. It was time to give him another blow to his heart. Chapter 408. Yin Yuntian was lying in a quiet bedroom in the backyard of the mansion. Compared to before, there were fewer bandages on his body, and he no longer looked like a mummy. Even though he was still unable to move, the pain in his body had lessened by a lot compared to the previous time. Yin Yunqian's pale face also had a faint ruddy complexion that he had not seen for a long time. All of this was due to the medicine prescribed by Bian Suan. Otherwise, it would be impossible for Yin Yuntian to recover so quickly in less than half a month. Of course, the price paid was also extremely high. Yin Faping had already given more than half of the 100 billion reward to Bian Suan. Once Yin Yuntian recovered completely, he would pay the rest of the reward. Tap tap, there was a series of footsteps outside. Yin Yuntian heard the noise and looked around. Soon, he saw the youthful and charming Yin Shuren walking into the bedroom. Some joy rose in his heart, but soon died down. With his current body, he could only look at his fiancée no matter how beautiful she was. To be more precise, his fiancée was going to run away soon. After all, Yin Shuren was not a vassal. She had a sect behind her that was not inferior to Fengxi Mountain. After knowing about his physical condition, even if Yin Shuren did not cancel the engagement, her sect would force her to do so. Yin Yuntian liked his fiancée, Yin Shuren. At this moment, Yin Shuren looked melancholy. There seemed to be a touch of sadness between her beautiful eyebrows that could not be soothed. She looked very haggard. She must be heartbroken because of what happened to him, right? It has already happened. Don't be sad for me. Seeing you like this makes my heart ache. Yin Yuntian comforted Yin Shuren. Hearing this, Yin Shuren's eyes flashed with surprise. She was in a bad mood these days, but it had nothing to do with Yin Yuntian. However, Yin Shuren did not dare to make this matter public. After seeing Yin Yuntian think so, she took the opportunity to deceive him. We have an engagement, after all. Seeing you like this makes me feel bad. Yin Yuntian was touched. He wanted to reach out and hug her, but he could not move and could only give up. About the engagement, Yin Shuren was not in the mood to chat with him. She wanted to get to the point, so she hinted at him. The reason why she came here was not to see Yin Yuntian, but to discuss the matter of canceling the engagement with Yin Yuntian. I understand. Yin Yuntian was heartbroken, but he didn't have the face to pester her. I won't hold you back. I agree to cancel the engagement. It's great that you don't have any objections. Yin Shuren heaved a sigh of relief. I'll go back and explain the situation to the elders. Then, I'll talk to Aunt Chong and officially cancel our engagement. Although the engagement has been canceled, please keep my hidden illness a secret. Yin Yuntian reminded him in a panic. At present, only a small number of people knew about this. Yin Yuntian didn't want this matter to spread. Otherwise, he would be pointed at by countless people when he walked in the hidden world. This was something he absolutely could not tolerate. I'll announce to the public that our personalities don't match. Don't worry. Yin Shuren understood what he meant and immediately expressed her stance. In that case, thank you very much, Yin Yuntian said gratefully. It should be, ugh. Before she could finish her sentence, Yin Shuren suddenly covered her chest and retched. After a while, Yin Shuren returned to normal. However, her heart was in a panic. After getting up this morning, she retched once. However, she didn't take it seriously at that time and thought it was just a coincidence. Now that she was retching for no reason, Yin Shuren thought of a terrible thing. Yin Yuntian was surprised and couldn't help but ask, were you feeling unwell? I caught a cold last night. I'm a little uncomfortable this morning, but it's nothing serious. Yin Shuren's eyes were a little evasive as she replied perfunctorily. Is it really just a cold? Yin Yuntian noticed that something was wrong with Yin Shuren and doubted the authenticity of her words. Yun Charan was flustered, but she pretended to be calm on the surface and squeezed out a smile. Of course it's just a cold. What else do you think it is? Yin Yuntian took a deep look at Yun Charan. He wanted to say, I thought you were pregnant. However, on second thought, he felt that it was too ridiculous. After all, Yun Charan was the daughter of the sect master of a great hidden sect. She had been strictly taught by her elders since she was young and had to abide by etiquette. She was a lady of a noble family. She would keep a distance when talking to ordinary men. How could she have an illicit relationship with a man and have a secret pregnancy? Ugh, ugh. Yun Charan retched for a while again. This time, Yin Yuntian didn't think too much and just said with concern, the little fairy doctor should come to visit you in a while. Ask her to take a look at you. Although you're a martial artist and have a strong self-healing ability, you'll recover faster with the divine doctor's treatment. You won't feel so uncomfortable then. Yun Charan almost fainted from the retching. After a long time, she calmed down. I'll ask her to take a look later. Her body's abnormality also made her suspect that she was pregnant. If she didn't figure it out, she would not be able to sleep well. Biensuin was famous in the hidden world and had noble medical ethics. If she was unwell, she would ask her to take her pulse. If she was found to be pregnant, she would ask her to keep a secret. Thinking about it, she definitely wouldn't spread the news. If she was not pregnant, it would be even better. She could pretend that nothing had happened. Have a good rest. I'll leave first, Yin Charan said politely and then slowly walked out of the quiet room. Not long after Yin Charan left, Yin Yuntian looked through the door and saw the door of the opposite room suddenly open. The graceful Feng Rao walked out of the room. She was wearing high heels and an elegant red dress that accentuated her amazing curves. She had beautiful makeup on her face. Her black hair was curly and fell over her shoulders. She exuded an incomparably noble aura from head to toe. Yin Yuntian was a little displeased when he saw her. He had suffered such a serious injury. As his mother, Feng Rao didn't even deliberately come to the room to see him, let alone show some warmth to him. It was a pity that he had suffered a huge blow both mentally and physically. As his mother, not only did she not wash her face with tears, she actually dressed up beautifully and even smiled happily. Yin Yuntian wanted to reprimand her, but he was afraid of Feng Rao's strength and temper. He could only force himself to remain silent. Opposite, Feng Rao didn't care about Yin Yuntian at all. She just walked around the backyard in her high heels and slowly got used to it. When she was in Fengshi Mountain, she usually wore an ancient robe or a skirt. She almost never tried this kind of modern dress. However, today was a special day. He lives in the secular world. This kind of dress must be to his taste. I don't believe that I can't charm him. Feng Rao was excited and hopeful as she talked to herself. Wow, wifey, you're too beautiful. Just when Feng Rao was thinking about something, Yin Feiping's voice suddenly came. Feng Rao looked over and saw Yin Feiping walking over with a silly smile. He was drooling faintly from the corner of his mouth. A strong sense of disgust rose from the bottom of Feng Rao's heart. I said that you look good in modern clothes. You never tried it before. Why are you suddenly dressed like this today? Did you wear it specially for me? Yin Feiping was excited and felt that the matter of Yin Yuntian having a younger brother or sister was settled. His wife was a woman after all. She had neglected her husband for so long. She couldn't hold back anymore, right? Chapter 409. Word for you, you don't deserve it. Seeing Yin Feiping's proud face, Feng Rao sneered and didn't give him any face. Hearing this, Yin Feiping was so excited that he smiled. He couldn't help but stiffen for a moment. Then, he seemed to have figured something out. Wife, I know you want to save face. You obviously miss me, but you pretend to be cold on the surface. Haha, don't show me that face. I won't laugh at you. Go away. Don't be an eyesore in front of me. Feng Rao heard his words and felt disgusted. She immediately scolded him. Yin Feiping thought that Feng Rao was angry because he had seen through her. Being scolded like this, he wasn't angry at all. Instead, he was even happier. Okay, I'll go. Yin Feiping also understood that it was not convenient to do anything in broad daylight. So, he followed Feng Rao's will and went to Yin Yuntian's room. However, when they arrived at Yin Yuntian's room, Yin Feiping still couldn't move his eyes away, looking at Feng Rao through the window. Yin Yuntian frowned when he saw this. Father, don't you think that mother has been strange recently? Really? Why don't I feel it? Yin Feiping was still staring at Feng Rao's beautiful figure. He responded to Yin Yuntian. Don't you think that mother doesn't care about me? Yin Yuntian was very dissatisfied. Hasn't your mother always been like this? She's never been a kind mother. Yin Feiping felt that it was normal. I know she's not a kind mother. But even so, isn't she looking down on me, her son, too much? I only feel that she treats me like an outsider. Yin Yuntian said, maybe your mother is too disappointed in you. After all, she wants you to inherit the Fengshi Mountain. And now that's why she has such an attitude. Don't blame her. Yin Feiping comforted him and then changed the topic. But you don't have to worry. She's still young. There's still a lot of room for negotiation. Your mother specially dressed up today. Obviously, she has thought it through. Your father will take care of this. You should be mentally prepared to be a brother. Hearing his father's words, Yin Yuntian felt a little uncomfortable. But judging from the current situation, this was indeed a good idea. Due to the internal strife, Fengshi Mountain had suffered quite a bit of damage. The only direct descendants left were his mother, Feng Yun, and his second aunt, Feng Yun. Second aunt Feng Yun's daughter, Qin Yunhan, had lived in the secular world for a long time and had never practiced martial arts. Obviously, it was impossible for him to continue in this position. As the only son of Feng Rao, sure, Yin didn't have the ability to continue the family line. Feng Rao was a martial arts genius. She had become a neutralizing grandmaster several years ago. If there were no accidents, she would definitely live to be more than 100 years old. Feng Rao was only 36 years old. Feng Rao had a lot of time left. The body functions of martial artists were much stronger than that of ordinary people. At 36 years old, Feng Rao's body was as old as a 20-year-old woman. As long as Feng Rao was willing, it would be easy for her to have 10 children, let alone one. However, Yin Yuntian was not as optimistic as his father. Even if Feng Rao wanted to have a child, did she have to have one with Yin Feiping? Father, I think you should pay more attention to mother. Just in case there's something on my head and I'm still in the dark. In fact, Yin Yuntian had wanted to say this for a long time. But to protect his father's face, he pretended not to know and let his father find out himself. But Yin Feiping was confused and didn't realize this problem at all. What do you mean? Yin Feiping's smile disappeared. He retracted his gaze from Feng Rao and looked at Yin Yuntian in confusion. Father, could it be that you don't feel that mother's expression and actions are extremely disgusted with you? Yin Yuntian reminded. She's always so cold, Yin Feiping said. There's a difference between coldness and disgust. Father, you're good at business and you're good at judging people. Don't lose your normal judgment because you care too much about mother. Yin Yuntian's eyes were deep. Hearing this, Yin Feiping's eyes flashed. He seemed to recall everything that had happened between him and Feng Rao. Indeed, compared to before, Feng Rao's attitude was much worse. Especially that day when he wanted to break into her room. She stood at the door and stopped him. She even warned him that if he made any noise, she would break his neck. At that time, Yin Feiping didn't think much. But now, as his son reminded him, he became suspicious. Father, what do you think? Yin Yuntian saw his father's eyes flashing and asked. Our Rao is definitely not that kind of person. Many thoughts flashed through Yin Feiping's mind. But in the end, he chose to believe Feng Rao. Yin Feiping, can you be more rational? Yin Yuntian felt that his words were in vain. He couldn't help but be anxious and directly called his father's name. All right, don't say any more. I won't allow anyone to gossip about our Rao, even if it's my own son. Yin Feiping scolded. Then, he couldn't help but look at Feng Rao in the distance. He said with a mesmerized face, even if our Rao likes someone else, I won't blame her. After all, I don't deserve her. To be able to marry her and have a son like you, this is already a gift from the heavens to me. If she wants to leave me and be with another man, I will give her my blessing. Hearing Yin Feiping's dreamy words, Yin Yuntian almost vomited blood. Yin Feiping was normal in every aspect. However, when it came to Feng Rao, he didn't seem like a normal person at all. Yin Yuntian had already seen some clues about this. However, he had never thought that Yin Feiping would be abnormal to this extent. Yin Yuntian was so angry with his father that he felt dizzy. He didn't want to pay attention to him anymore. The bedroom fell into silence. Yin Feiping and Yin Yuntian had different thoughts. They both looked at the graceful figure not far away. The former looked like a bootlicker, while the latter looked extremely unhappy. "Hill Master, Miss Xuansu is here." Yun Xian walked into Yin Feiping and Yin Yuntian's vision and reported to Feng Rao in a loud voice. "Is it one person or two?" Feng Rao was very excited. Her voice was high. Yin Feiping and Yin Yuntian heard it from afar. "Miss Xian Su has brought her friend with her." Yun Xian replied with a joyful expression. Feng Rao was overjoyed. She immediately said, "Follow me. I will welcome them." Then, she quickly left. Yun Xian quickly followed. When Feng Rao and Yun Xian talked, they didn't deliberately lower their voices like Yin Feiping and Yin Yuntian. Thus, Yin Feiping and Yin Yuntian heard the whole conversation between Feng Rao and Yun Xian. "The friend that Xuanzu brought is that kid called Wang Haoran. Rao deliberately dressed up today. Is it because of him?" Yin Feiping guessed something. He was surprised and couldn't help but mumble to himself. "It's impossible. That kid is just a rich second generation in the secular world. How could mother like him?" Yin Yuntian snorted coldly. His face was full of disdain. Chapter 410. Yin Feiping didn't really agree with Yin Yuntian's words. He couldn't help but say, "You saw it with your own eyes last time at the hospital. When this rich kid went out, he grabbed her with both hands. Rao was very lenient towards this rich kid. At that time, I thought Rao only spared him because of Xuanzu. Now that I think about it, Rao is obviously biased towards this rich kid." Yin Feiping didn't feel good when he said this. Yin Yuntian's expression didn't change. He still insisted on his own thoughts. "Father, have you thought about it? If mother really wanted to have children, what would be her first consideration if she didn't look for you, but another man? Rao's starting point is to cultivate an heir for Fengxi Mountain. Naturally, martial arts talent is the most important." Yin Feiping replied. "That's right." Yin Yuntian nodded. "What does that rich kid have?" "Nothing more than money and good looks. Mother doesn't lack money. As for good looks, that's even more ridiculous. Do you think a face can charm a noble person like mother?" Yin Feiping felt that it made sense, but he still had some doubts. But when our Rao heard that the rich kid was here, she was so happy. "I think it's because of Andy that mother is so polite. After all, you saw that although mother and aunt aren't related by blood, they're almost like sisters." Yin Yuntian said, "That rich kid and your aunt are just friends. Why is Rao acting like this?" Yin Feiping questioned. "Father, there's something you might not know." Yin Yuntian's face was filled with jealousy. "What is it?" Yin Feiping was curious. "That rich kid is actually aunt's husband." Yin Yuntian squeezed these words out from between his teeth. "The number one beauty of the hidden world has a husband." Yin Feiping was stunned. "That's right. Aunt told me this herself." Yin Yuntian said slowly. "On the day of Aunt's wedding, the sect was suddenly attacked. During the fight, Aunt was injured and lost part of her memory. She forgot many things, including her husband. Recently, when they met again, Aunt recovered this memory. However, according to my aunt, her husband also lost his memories. Some time ago, Annie was sad because of this. I saw that her expression was not right, so I casually asked, and she told me the truth." Hearing this secret, Yin Feiping was secretly shocked for a moment. "Xuanzu's husband is that rich second-generation heir? Annie didn't tell me his name. She only told me that he was a rich young master from the secular world. But in my opinion, the rich young master that little aunt was talking about must be this rich second generation. Otherwise, why would little aunt protect him so much and even give up Fengxi Mountain?" Yin Yuntian said. Yin Feiping nodded. Some of the doubts that had been lingering in his heart had been resolved. However, he suddenly realized a problem. What right does a rich second generation from the secular world have to marry your aunt? Feng Xuanzu's original sect was much stronger than Fengxi Mountain. As the daughter of a sect, one could imagine how high Feng Xuanzu's status was. Compared to the rich second generation in the secular world, she was on a completely different level. The difference between the two of them was like the difference between an ancient commoner and a princess. When I heard what Little Ant said, I had the same question as you. And I also asked Little Ant, and Little Ant also answered me. Yin Yunqian's face turned even uglier. Oh, why is that? Yin Feiping asked. A few years ago, that rich second-generation heir accidentally got lost while hiking in the mountains and barged into the territory of Little Ant's sect. He even encountered a ferocious beast. Yin Yuntian's eyes flashed with thick flames of jealousy. That rich second-generation heir was about to become food for the ferocious beast. But at that moment, Little Ant passed by and saved that rich second-generation heir. She even fell in love with him at first sight. She even wanted to marry him. After that, she even ignored her parents' objections and insisted on marrying him. After hearing this, Yin Feiping couldn't help but envy that rich second-generation heir's luck. Such a miraculous encounter was probably rare even in ancient times, right? You mean Xuanzu also told Arao about this matter? Arao treated Xuanzu as her family. She even treated Xuanzu's husband as her family. So she was especially tolerant of that rich second-generation heir. Is that so? Yin Feiping returned to the previous topic. Yes. Yin Yuntian nodded and said hatefully, that rich second generation must have accumulated a lot of good fortune in his previous life to be able to become my aunt's husband in this life. It's absolutely impossible for him to be liked by a married female sect leader of a reclusive sect with a noble status. After listening to Yin Yuntian's analysis, Yin Feiping completely dispelled the idea that Feng Rao had other thoughts about Wang Haoren. I know you have conflicts with that rich second-generation heir, but now that your mother is so tolerant of him, it's better not to go against him in the future. Also, in terms of seniority, you should call him Little Uncle. In that case, we're all on the same side. Yin Feiping explained. Yin Yuntian snorted coldly. Get along with that rich second-generation heir? That was absolutely impossible. That damn rich second-generation heir snatched away his beloved Feng Xuanzu and was very close to his ex-fiancée, Ning Aoxue and Feng Anna. They even lived under the same roof. He couldn't swallow this anger no matter what. Yin Yuntian still had hope that his hidden illness would be cured, so he thought that he could take back Feng Xuanzu. Because of this, he didn't want to fall out with Feng Xuanzu, so he didn't kill Wang Haoren. But now, Yin Yuntian knew that his hidden illness would never be cured. In other words, it was useless even if he took back Feng Xuanzu. Yin Yuntian had made up his mind to kill Wang Haoren, but he couldn't do it because he was seriously injured. But it didn't matter. With little fairy doctor Biansuan's treatment, his injury would be completely healed in less than a month. At that time, it would be the death of this rich second-generation heir. Murderous intent kept surging in Yin Yuntian's eyes. Yin Feiping caught his mood and wanted to persuade him, but he suddenly heard footsteps outside, so he could only keep quiet. Soon, Feng Rao led Feng Xuanzu and Wang Haoren into the bedroom. Yin Yuntian looked at Wang Haoren with a gloomy face. You're recovering well. Wang Haoren saw that Yin Yuntian's complexion was much better than before and showed a thought-provoking smile. Yuntian, are you feeling better? Feng Xuanzu walked to the bedside and asked. Because of Wang Haoren, she hated Yin Yuntian. But in terms of seniority, she was Yin Yuntian's aunt after all, and they hadn't fallen out yet. Since she came here as a guest, she naturally had to see Yin Yuntian, the patient. Yin Yuntian wasn't stupid. He could roughly guess Feng Xuanzu's intention. So after hearing Feng Xuanzu's words, he didn't feel happy at all. But for the sake of politeness, he still responded. Thank you for your concern, Aunt. Chapter 411. After greeting Yin Yuntian on the surface, Feng Xuanzu didn't say anything else to Yin Yuntian. Let's sit in the living room. Feng Rao said to Feng Xuanzu and Wang Haoren with a spring breeze smile on her face and immediately led the way. Yin Yuntian looked at Feng Rao deeply, feeling very unhappy. As a mother, she didn't even show any concern on the surface. She didn't even look at him from the beginning to the end. Her attention was elsewhere. Or to be precise, it was on Wang Haoran. However, Yin Yuntian didn't think too much about it. He just thought that Feng Rao was curious and looked at Wang Haoran. While Yin Yuntian was thinking, Feng Rao had already left the room with Wang Haoran and Feng Xuanzu. Out of courtesy, Yin Feiping followed everyone to the living room. The bedroom returned to silence. When it was close to dinner time, Yin Feiping came over with a few servants. A few servants even brought a reclining chair. "Carry him well and be careful," Yin Feiping ordered and motioned for the servants to carry Yin Yuntian to the reclining chair. "Father, what's wrong?" Yin Yuntian was a little puzzled. "Isn't this a reunion dinner? How can we do it without you? Our Rao asked me to come over and carry you to the dining room so that you can join the fun," Yin Feiping explained. "Mother said that." Yin Yuntian raised his eyebrows. "It wasn't our Rao who suggested it. It was that rich second generation. When our Rao heard it, she felt that it made sense and agreed," Yin Feiping said. Yin Yuntian frowned deeply, feeling that this matter was a little strange. But before he could think more, a few servants were already ready to carry him. "Stop, I'm not going." Yin Yuntian stopped them. The injuries on his body were much better than before, and the position of the fracture was fixed by a splint. If he was careful, he wouldn't be hurt, but he didn't want to go through so much trouble. "Yuntian, just go." That rich second generation deliberately mentioned this matter. "Maybe he wants to mend the relationship with you. Just go." Yin Feiping persuaded. "No," Yin Yuntian insisted. "I can't not go. Our Rao said that if I can't get you there, she'll kick me out of the house." Yin Feiping smiled bitterly and ordered the servant again. "Be careful. Carry me." Because of Yin Yuntian's physical condition, he naturally could not resist. Under the careful movements of several servants, Yin Yuntian was directly carried to the recliner. At this moment, Wang Haoran was calling Bien Suen in a secluded place in the mansion. However, no one picked up even after he dialed several times. The reason why he tried to get Yin Yuntian to go to the restaurant was that he wanted to expose Yun Charan's secret during the meal. But who would be the one to expose it? That was a problem. Wang Haoran initially wanted to do it himself, but after thinking about it, he felt that it wasn't convincing enough. Moreover, it might even arouse Yun Charan's suspicion. After all, he was not a doctor in everyone's eyes. It was too far-fetched to say that Yun Charan was pregnant based on a retching. It was best for Bien Suen to expose Yun Charan's secret. Therefore, Wang Haoran wanted to contact Bien Suen and ask her to come over. However, no one picked up after he called her many times. Wang Haoran had no choice but to call Chiu Qianwei instead. "Dear, what's the matter? Are you asking me out for a meal?" Chiu Qianwei saw that it was almost lunchtime and couldn't help but guess happily. "No, I'm a guest at someone else's house. I suddenly miss you, so I called you," Wang Haoran said. "I miss you too," Chiu Qianwei replied with a smile. "Where's your third sister?" Wang Haoran changed the topic and asked. "Third sister didn't come back last night and only came back this morning. She's resting in her room now. Chiu Qianwei was on holiday and didn't go out. It's almost lunchtime. She's still resting?" Wang Haoran said in surprise. "Why do I feel like you know that third sister is resting?" Chiu Qianwei asked. When Wang Haoran heard that, he thought to himself, "How can I not know? Even I'm tired, let alone your third sister." However, Wang Haoran wouldn't say that out loud. Chiu Qianwei heard something wrong from Wang Haoran's words and couldn't help but ask, "Did third sister go to see you last night?" "No," Wang Haoran said. I'll find third sister now and catch her check. I'll know." Chiu Qianwei said. I can't help it." Wang Haoran sighed. His voice seemed to be filled with self-blame, and there was even a faint sound of him beating his chest. "Don't be like this. I'm not blaming you. I know your story with third sister and I understand. Besides, I've talked to third sister and I'm already mentally prepared. Don't blame yourself." Chiu Qianwei heard the commotion and thought that Wang Haoran was hurting himself, so she quickly comforted him. "Really, you're not lying to me, right?" When Wang Haoran pretended to be unconscious, he heard the conversation between Chiu Qianwei and Bien Suen. When he heard Chiu Qianwei's words, he didn't find it strange at all. However, on the surface, he still pretended not to know about it. He stopped hurting himself and asked Xiao Qianwei in disbelief. No, Xiao Qianwei replied with certainty. Wei Wei, you're so nice. It's my fortune to have a girlfriend like you. Wang Haoran was very touched. Now you know how nice I am? Then why don't you express your gratitude? Xiao Qianwei hinted. The night after tomorrow. I'll treat you to dinner. Wang Haoran said. No, tonight. Xiao Qianwei bargained. The night after tomorrow. Wang Haoran insisted. Did you ask third sister out for dinner tonight? Xiao Qianwei asked. You guessed it. Wang Haoran was surprised. I just said it casually, and I got it right. Xiao Qianwei was a little surprised. After thinking for a while, she suddenly said, I'll go tonight. I want to freeload. This isn't a good idea. Wang Haoran found it hard to believe. Forget it. I can't let you be too tired. No. I can't let you spend too much money. Why don't you treat third sister to dinner? Xiao Qianwei was concerned about Wang Haoran, so she could only make herself suffer. Actually, I don't lack money. You guys can come together. It'll be more lively if there's one more person to eat. Wang Haoran was excited and quickly said, All right then. Xiao Qianwei agreed. Then, she remembered Wang Haoran's words and asked, Why are you looking for third sister? Do you want to wake her up? No need. Let her rest. If she wakes up, ask her to contact me. Wang Haoran instructed. Okay, got it. Xiao Qianwei quickly agreed. That's all for now. I'll hang up. I'll contact you later. Wang Haoran heard footsteps coming toward them and quickly ended the call with Xiao Qianwei.